Hello and welcome to the Menfulness podcast. It's me, Sam Watling, and I'm grateful to have you on board with me once again as we continue fighting the stigma around men's mental health. We're talking to as many people as possible and hearing their stories of struggle and recovery. We're learning from people with academic and lived experience, and we're seeing whether we can try and unpick why men don't talk as much as maybe we should, and between us, what we might do about that. Now, I've had a few weeks off sorting stuff, so there's a bit of news for you. Sunday the 6th of August, Menfulness will run our second ever York 10K. Over 50 runners and volunteers will be joining us as we run through the streets of York, raising money and awareness of the work that we do. So, we would love you, if you can, to support us by donating. There's a link in the description, and we're all run by volunteers, pun intended. All of your donations will go directly towards helping men with their mental health. Also, our Menfulness merch store is now live. We've been testing it and sampling it and making sure that the quality is right, and we're now ready to make it available to you. So, visit menfulness.org, click the merch store button and treat yourself. As well as looking incredible, it helps get our logo and our message out there, and also a few quid from each purchase gets donated to us in the process so that we can keep helping men who need it. Now, on to today's conversation, we've got Adam Pike for you. This conversation was recorded ready for Alcohol Awareness Week, but that was several weeks ago, and I just haven't had time to put it out there. However, it is still an amazing, insightful chat, and we get right into Adam's experiences of addiction, as well as his challenges with relationship breakdown, physical injury, and chronic pain. There's things in here which might trigger you on subjects like suicide, disordered eating, alcohol, drug misuse. So please do look after yourself. Listen to this when you're in the right mindset. Talk to us if it's affected you in some way. As is often the case, though, this is not a sad conversation. We do cover a lot of ground, but it's filled with hope and opportunities to learn from Adam. And we hear about where he is right now, which is, helping others with their challenges. So if you're looking to adjust your relationship with alcohol, help is available to you. Locally, York has got health trainers who are able to support you regardless of where you're at on that journey. You don't have to be dependent, and you don't need to be looking at going teetotal altogether if that's not right for you. Have a look at lowermydrinking.com to take the national quiz and see what your consumption is like against the average, and find out what support is available near to you. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Here's Adam. Adam, welcome. Thank you for being here, brother.
Thank you, Sam.
How
Thanks for
are
having me. Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Very
Good.
good indeed.
I hope your journey over here was good.
It's not, yeah, to be fair, I used to travel around quite a lot, and I just finished 3 years at York Uni, or York St John, and I came that way in, and it was a damn sight like quieter tonight than it used to be, sort of at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. So
that's good, man. No, we connected through a York St John connection.
We did.
Shout out Dr. Gary Shepherd.
Gary.
What a legend. He's doing a lot of work for us at the moment, research, and just, he seems like what a great guy.
Amazing guy. The fact is, when we first met him, this was what really interested about having lunch with him on Monday, was because when I first met him, we had like a bit of a get-together, a meet and greet everybody, and he came up to me and said, do you fancy getting around with me? And I said, yeah, let's do it. He said, will you buy the first one? And then, because I've got to use my card, I don't have any cash. And so I did. And then he bought me one back. Then I bought him a second one. I never saw him again all night. So when we met up last week just to sort of reconnect after finishing the degree last year, he bought lunch and two coffees. So I was well stoked. So.
Oh, no, that's good. And he's spent a lot of his life working on improving men's mental health, and so we will have him on, and I'm just I'm very grateful for him linking us up, because he, like you say, you only saw him last week. He messaged me and said, I think Adam would be really good, and he's great at speaking. He's got a great story, and he works because this week, hopefully when this goes out, will be Alcohol Awareness Week.
That's great.
And so I kind of wanted to speak to somebody who had some experience in that field, and I wanted to do something that kind of linked in with that theme, and so I'm really interested to get your experiences and learn a bit more from you. But before we go down that route, just to give people a bit of background, a bit of context about who you are, where you're from, are you happy to just share with us a bit about that?
Of course I am. So my name's Adam. I was Yorkshire born, Nottingham raised. My mum and dad decided to move down to the good old Midlands, place called Stapleford, for some reason to open up a butcher shop just before supermarkets became a big thing. So it wasn't a very successful business as such, but grew up with two stepsister and a stepbrother who were slightly older than me from my dad's previous marriage. Had an okay childhood. Sadly, my dad died when I was 9 of leukemia. We only spent about another 4 years down in Nottingham.
Yeah.
And due to falling out with said siblings, my mum decided to move us back up to Yorkshire, back into Harrogate, where I've remained. Yeah. And the bits and pieces that came from that. So coming into a new school, leaving behind all friends, rugby friends.
Such a formative time of your life as well.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry to.
Oh no. It's like I said, it's a sad thing that happened, but it's something that makes the story so relevant because it's part of it.
Yeah.
And went through a horrid thing at school where defending a girl's honour who'd been slapped by a lad. I slapped him back, but sadly broke his jaw in a few places and got pulled up through the courts of that. Sort of a young lad, sort of wearing his shirt and tie.
How old were you at this point then?
15, just about to do GCSEs. In a school show, was forced to go and be in the school show by a narcissistic head teacher. He said, because you're not going to let your fellow pupils down because of your stupid mistakes of something that wasn't handled properly by the school. Anyway.
God.
Had dreams then of being a copper, which got snubbed out because of the seriousness of the offence. I fell into construction at about 18, had a few odd jobs. I was working for a relative on a farm, so doing farm stuff, farm labouring. He also had like a little, what you call now like a farm shop.
Yeah.
But it was right at the throes of before all that went booming, and you had your big sort of places where you got kids play and stuff like that now. Foot and mouth hit.
Oh, God,
He couldn't afford to keep us, so my uncle worked for a local company in Harrogate and said, "Do you want a job labouring?" And I thought, oh, it'll do for now, for a few years until hopefully I get into the police. 18 years later, I was still there. Worked my way up to be a site manager.
Wow.
Absolutely hated it though.
What, throughout that time?
There were some good times.
Yeah.
I loved the fact of building things. I think all guys do, don't we? A lot of us do anyway.
Yeah.
We'd throw in a load of Lego or Duplo at 4 years old and build something.
Yeah.
If you're good at it, your Meccano and Technics.
Yeah.
I remember them Technics
Absolutely.
kits were ridiculously expensive.
So you were building what sort of stuff were you building?
Oh, it was crazy, the stuff when we first started. We built basically half of Hornbeam Park. If any of your listeners know, Hornbeam Park in Harrogate used to be an ICI chemical works. A big rich guy wanted to build these humongous office spaces, one of which is a pyramid. Right. This all glazed pyramid.
Wild.
It's mad. It's
stuff you don't get to build.
No, honestly, if you drive, if any of your listeners go to Harrogate and you're driving in on the A59, instead of going through Knaresborough, keep on the bypass.
Yeah.
And as you drop down to Weatherby Road, you can see the pyramid on the horizon.
Oh, I not noticed that.
You just wouldn't if you didn't know it was there.
Right,
I drive past it with great vengeance because that job was horrendous. So we did all of that. That company went bust when I was. Let me think how old it was. It was 2011. It went bust after, and I've been there sort of 10, 11 years. Right. I went into hydro energy schemes, which were generating electricity through rivers and waterways and stuff, which was great work, working next to rivers and doing big, heavy civil engineering, driving diggers. Construction's like a giant playground for guys. Yeah. Anybody will tell you that it's just, you can have some of the best laughs you've ever had. There's loads of mickey taking.
Good banter, but
with an edge of, sort of, I'd call it a bit of toxic masculinity as well that goes on with it as well. So it's like how much you can beat your chest and to sort of get your own way a little bit sometimes. And
maybe suppressing some of them more. I mean, obviously I've never experienced it myself, but I do know from some of the lads in Menfulness, some of the people that we speak to, that there's a real sort of endemic of mental health challenge in in the construction industry.
There is.
People, not feeling safe to say I'm struggling because of the type of bravado that kind of you get on sites. Would you say that's fair to say?
Oh God, it's dog eat dog. It's if there is any sign of weakness, there's any sign of an edge that could be pulled back to expose you, to take the mickey out of you, to kind of belittle you, I suppose.
So the banter edges into bullying.
It does.
If you let it.
Yeah. And it's, again, it's as a fulfillment role. Some of the job roles that you see people do. I mean, I was a site manager, worked my way up, which when I first got there, I was doing site management at the age of like 21.
Wow.
The company saw something in me. I don't know what still to this day, because, I'm some of the most disorganised bloke you've ever met in your life. But
did you do all right?
I think it was more the sense of, I'm very good at short-term goals. So when concrete had to be laid on Friday morning at 9 o'clock, it had to be ready for that time, or else you went backwards, really bad. So there must have been something about that, and maybe a bit of attention to detail, because I used to, probably too much in fact, I used to really struggle with the finicky parts of stuff, in the sense of seeing someone leaving something half done and just the
perfectionist.
On the tools thing, not my job mate. The
Yeah.
different trade crossovers where the plasterers plastered up the electric box for the sparky.
Right.
It used to wind me up, and it then became a point the longer in my career in construction. So I had my own business for a bit. That went belly up, shall we say, after sort of my mental health breakdown. Part of it as well. Got myself in some really bad financial difficulties with that, and money and what have you. The trade, the level of tradesmen started depleting.
Yeah.
And they were on ridiculous money, and that was trying to manage that. It just became so much, and you were getting it from everywhere. It wasn't like you were at the top of the tree, giving it down, or you were at the bottom of the tree getting it down onto you. You were getting it from underneath, from the sides. You were getting it from everywhere.
Yeah.
And just people really focused on money, greed. It was just it was greed that stimulated. It wasn't doing a good job. It was, how much can we make from it?
Yeah, how do we do it as cheaply as possible? And then I suppose that then puts builders in a difficult position where you want to do a great job, and actually you've got less and less resource to do it with.
Do it once, do it right.
Yeah. And so what sort of age was it when you left the construction career then?
So I had big mental breakdown in 2017 that sort of lasted for, I would say, it was a good year. That's where I kind of realised this isn't for me, doing the management stuff, because I'd my stress vessel, stress bucket, whatever you want to call it, it was just a capacity, just with life.
Yeah.
And I thought, sod this, I'll go back on the tools, something where I started pushing a brush around at 18 and worked my way up to being a curb layer, a concreter, a formwork joiner, so kind of learnt as I went. Didn't actually, was a jack of all, master of none.
Yeah.
But
you could easily step back down the chain and find a job.
And being more money, working local.
Right.
I did that for, I think it was 6-7 weeks, and realised the biggest mistake I'd made, because I got a job through a recommendation, and all the things about safety, stuff that I'd learned that you kind of become responsible for on sites.
Yeah.
I was just seeing them being ignored. And it got to a point where something really bad nearly happened. Like a lot of people, it would have been a huge investigation had we not realised sooner. But despite telling management, don't do this isn't how we do it, and they're just going, oh, it'll be fine. I just gave my keys back and said, I can't do this. Then went and worked for a guy who was doing he was in a bit of a pickle himself. I've not spoken to him since we didn't speak after my back went out in the December of 2018. Doing a job for him down in Tamworth, so subcontracting to him as a project manager, helping redesign these projects that he was doing for other organisations. Trying to do stuff all on my own, working on my own. I'd already had a back surgery in 2016.
Right.
Where I'd had a bit of disc taken out. I was left with a partially sort of numb leg.
Is this from building work?
Well,
an injury
the doctors and everybody will say it's from rugby.
All right.
But
okay.
it never happened whilst I was playing rugby. It was always whilst I was on site or sitting on a toilet. And then it gave way again whilst I was down there, and I was on my own. he again wasn't heeding, listening to what needed to be done. I went to the doctors. They sent me straight to hospital. Scanned the bladder, because when your back goes, you tend not to be able to notice if you need to wee or not.
Right.
So it was nearly bladder's ruptured. So in goes a catheter up the old pee pipe.
Man.
Doctor was groovy because he sent me up. He sent me up back up to Yorkshire. He said, "Have you had surgery with this before?" I was like, "Yeah." Well, we'll get you back to Leeds. So dosed me up on a load of morphine. I nearly met Jay McDonald on the train up, because I thought, well, sod it. This guy I've been working for, he's been ripping me off, making me do all this work, so I'll get a first class ticket. And opposite me was Jay McDonald. and
you were off your own morphine.
I was off my head on morphine. I'd also decided that I'm probably not going to come out of hospital for a bit, so I'll have a few beers. It was near Christmas time, so morphine and beers sat, and I'm there swaying about. And went to go and speak to Jay McDonald. Only problem was that I just drained my catheter before getting on the train, and it was down by my left leg. So as I went to stand up to go do, I'd forgot to switch the tap back off, and I would end up with a shoe full of pee. So
did Jay notice?
Well, no, because when I stood up and it went squelch, I thought I best not do this, because
sit back down again.
It'll be security. Let's kick him off the train. This weirdo with the pissy boot.
Shouldn't laugh.
No, it's funny.
That's a claim to fame there, isn't it?
It's hilarious. It's funny. So then spent 6 weeks in hospital because there were to and fro of what to do, disbelieving the pain, how bad that was.
Was it an addition to the previous injury?
It was in the same,
totally different,
same place, same thing. A herniated disc, but it felt like there was hot knives just scoring my leg, and I couldn't move. It was like laid fetal on my right hand side for weeks. I've got pictures on my phone of my eyes like being boz-eyed. I was just, in a state.
Oh mate.
And at that time, I was also still working with the CMHT, with the mental health team, because of my mental health problem that started initially sort of in 2017. It was still running on, so I was still under treatment, still getting some counselling and therapy. And that's where life started changing. It's where I noticed things were, the more help I started accepting at that point, the more that I started recognising, wow, there is a life to be. There is a life to have. Because at that point, I'd given up. I'd got to a point where it was enough. I was sort of, I tried checking out once already with a suicide attempt that spent me a month in a mental health hospital up in Middlesbrough.
How long prior then? If we go back a little bit, so what led to you being in this state? Was it the work? Was it the? You said it was a relationship breakdown.
Yeah, it was. It kind of all went back to sort of losing my dad.
Yeah, because
it was a very sudden thing. He got ill in September of 1992. The doctors thought he had hypothermia. No, what's it called? Not hypothermia. Pneumonia. Thank you. Thought he had pneumonia. Couldn't work it out. Turned out that he'd had leukemia.
Oh yeah.
And at that time in the early 90s, it was a near fatal disease. Right. They tried everything. So chemotherapy. One of his sisters, because he was from a big family, she donated some bone marrow. He then became in remission just before Christmas. Came out. I think he did about 4 weeks, no, maybe 3 weeks out of hospital after Christmas, and was died in early February. Wow. So it was a very difficult time, and sort of in that time I'd kind of grown up. Yeah. I wasn't little 9-year-old Adam anymore. I was more like 19-year-old Adam, sort of helping my mum, like cooking tea for her one night because she was still working, as well as going and seeing my dad. Having to just deal with stuff like, I think there was a recession at the time as well, so money was tight, insurances weren't paying a great deal. There was lots of things against us. And
you were aware of all this stuff at 9 years old, so you had to grow up super quick.
The one thing that my mum and dad said, I mean, my dad never had the conversation with him. I used to ask, "What's wrong with Dad? What's wrong with Daddy?" And she'd say, "Well, it's hard to hear, but this is what's wrong with him." And she was open and honest, because that's the advice that she'd been given. Yeah. The sad fact was, though, that obviously in that time period, that time frame, now if you lost a parent at that age, there's loads of support, loads of therapies, places to go to help the child adjust, And there she just came out with a leaflet, how to support your kid through this. So it was a bit of a difficult time.
Can you remember it?
I call it like I think these things we have in life, like these traumas, these events that happen, I think they ingrain on our memory like a negative image.
Yeah.
So I've been working with a lady who she'd gone through a lot of childhood trauma, which led to her addictional problems. She can still close her eyes and recall the steps to the bathroom to not make a noise and come back. And and those things, I think at such a young age become ingrained. I can still
foundation.
I can still remember, the smell of the sausage rolls on the morning of his funeral at home. With the wake at home and the cars. It was a frosty day. I can remember where I was sat in the crematorium. So it was one of those really impactful things, but of which kind of didn't really have that much of an effect as it sounds, apart from the fact that I grew up too quick, so I became like a mini husband to my mum.
Yeah.
Noticed that she was managing the best way she could. She became very lonely. She had good neighbours, but tended to get drunk quite a bit, which I don't knock my mum for. She did all she could with it, but it was kind of sometimes became a bit where I was having to put her to bed on nights after re-listening to Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You. I cannot watch The Bodyguard ever. That's one of those films that you just could never, ever go back to listen to. And we then had a big family fallout so at that time I'd been playing for a rugby club down in Nottingham. I'd made county trials at under 30. I broke my leg whilst playing rugby as well, so I'd come back from a broken leg. Made Nottinghamshire County. This was about 12, 13.
Was it really? Wow.
So I'd made the county, had some great coaches around me there who loved me to bits, who were all like little dads.
Yeah.
Had loads of mates who were like little brothers who, of which I've still got connections to now. Yeah, like that become like your blood. Had a massive falling out with my stepbrother, which scared my mum, and she decided to move us back up to Yorkshire. And then again, there was another trauma, another loss of everything that you knew.
Again, at a time when you kind of want stability, you kind of want to get to know who you are, and suddenly you're thrown out into this new environment.
Then, literally growing up, coming up to Yorkshire, it was like everybody from Nottingham, the gun capital of the world or of the UK. Yeah. Like, you'll rule the roost up there, Pikey. That'll be you. You'll be fine. I got up here and it was like, oh my God, what the hell is this? Literally the first day of school, offered cannabis down on the park. Never had any of that in Nottingham. We knew lads did it, but it was literally everybody was doing it. There was a huge drug problem around. Wow. And then spent a few years not happy, skiving school.
Whereabouts were you at this point? Where did you go?
This was in Harrogate, so
straight to Harrogate, yeah. And that's where you've been since.
And that's where I've been ever since, yeah. So it was all of that, and then, like I say, going into construction, not having a dad, playing rugby, all the drinking, all of the stuff.
Yeah, there's a culture, I suppose, with the rugby as well, is there, of as well as the sport and the connection to your fellow players.
Yeah.
There's all of the drinking culture and the partying and the sort of like...
It's you win or lose your beers afterwards. Winning beer always tastes better.
Yeah.
It was through all that time as well. I decided at about 19, I met this girl who, I was at that point, I was probably about 35, 40, ready to nest.
Yeah.
Rather than sowing my oats and going enjoying the world. And I just went, you're literally, I think it was about after dating her for about 6 or 8 weeks, I decided, I'm going to propose.
Right.
Like settle down, marriage. So about 2021, I'd got my own house.
Yeah.
We mortgaged up. We got married. That lasted a year and 10 days, I think, from the date we got married to us actually parting ways. And that's where I'd always struggled with depression a bit and not knowing sort of what was the cause of it, like having real lethargic moments through the day, really struggling to focus, concentrate. But that's where it really hit. I developed a massive binge eating problem. I rocketed up to, what would it be? Be about 26, 27 stone.
Wow.
Drinking maybe 12, 14 pints a night, eating like 16-inch pizzas with cheeseburger chasers every night, bacon sandwiches the next day. I was on total destruct mode then.
Did you recognise it as destruct mode then? Was it kind of, were you conscious?
I think it was a way of coping because that's where the learnt behaviours came from. From seeing when I'm sad, when you're sad, you drink.
Yeah.
When you're like, the big thing about being a big lad all the way through my life, being bullied, family helped that by feeding you.
Yeah.
So in discomfort, eat, you know.
Yeah.
So that's where I learned those ways of coping.
Yeah.
You know, like literally to a point where I'd be so full and I'd fold 2 pieces of pizza together. Have you ever seen The Whale? The movie?
I've watched it recently, actually. What an incredible
That
film.
triggered something in me that
Yeah.
was just a case of, oh my God, because you know, it's something that I'm aware of. I've got and I do struggle with still to this day is food. Out of
Right.
everything, food is still the problem.
I see.
But watching that where he folds the pizzas together and then tries and wolfs them down, that was me. That was literally me trying to just eat my emotions.
Yeah.
Had a point where work was going bad, relationship was up. I was planning on taking my life. I'd disconnected from rugby and everything. Had a missed call from a coach randomly one Friday night, where I was actually making serious like plans in my mind about how I'd not be here.
Yeah.
And missed call off him. I hadn't spoke to him in years. You know, I'd done Yorkshire counties with him. He was my club coach in a place over in Leeds called Yarnbury.
Yeah, and you'd done quite well, had you?
Done quite well. I'd played.
This was after you'd come
This
down
was after
off
I'd
the high.
come down off the high. So I've been playing county rugby for under 18s throughout. Nearly made North of England. Was literally first like replacement for North of England prop.
Wow.
In case someone went down.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't. If I could have my time again now, I'd be a bit more dedicated to the course. But it was just, I think in my own mindset, I just didn't feel confident. I didn't feel like I had the ability to give a shit to be fit. I always blamed it on not having a dad. You know, kind of someone to kick you up the arse, because my mum she hated rugby. She was like, why you play? Oh, you come home with big black eyes and cuts and everything. And
so rather than the success of you being good at it, it was, I'm worried about you.
It was more,
yourself.
I'm worried about it, so I'm not going to come. And
Yeah.
no one to kick you up the arse. You know, like a lot of the dads were there at the Suns. And
I suppose the culture of going out and having fun and partying and drinking is counterproductive to trying to be an athlete and winning games. And
that's the route that I took. It was more playing senior rugby, having a drink with the older boys, building those connections. And so so kind of I disconnected from rugby. I don't know why I started. I did break my neck a few years prior to that. I'd split in a mad tackle. I don't really.
This is before your second injury then?
This was before my second injury. So got this was from this phone call. This phone call off this coach. I was like, you know, hi Bob, how you doing? And he was like, Adam Pike, what's going on with you? How you doing? You know, as we all do. Oh, everything's fine. It's great.
Yeah.
deep down inside, you're breaking. And he said, what are you doing tomorrow? He said, I pocket dialed you, but what are you doing tomorrow? I said, nothing. I've got no plans. I did have plans, but obviously I wasn't going to tell him, you know, what I was probably going to do. And he said, we've got a game on. Why don't you just come and play for the thirds? I was like, well, I'm 26, 27 stone. He said, doesn't matter. Just come do 5 minutes. So got the love back of it and literally was blowing out my ass walking up to the pitch.
You went back and
went
played?
Back, played and played and played.
Wow,
you know, each
mate.
week got fitter and fitter and fitter. Then playing a game, got my neck sat on after a tackle, so rolled over. Didn't realise I'd broken it, just thought I pulled a muscle. Played for another 6 weeks, I think, before
With a broken neck?
With a broken neck, yeah. It was the disc had imploded into the spinal cord. And when I'd gone for a scan like that, and this is kind of another journey of addiction, because up until this point, the worst thing I'd had, you know, was I don't even think I'd had a painkiller, like apart from ibuprofen, paracetamol at this point in life. I was at the doctor's every week for boxes of tramadol. It started out codeine, then it was tramadol. I was on fentanyl patches that they give to sort of dying people, like the fentanyl epidemic in the US, and we have over here now. Yeah. So this slow release into your body. I was on Oromorph, liquid morphine.
But some of this was initially to actually
this was to manage the pain in the neck,
because
because I thought I've just pulled a muscle. Saw a physio. He was like, "You've probably either had a brain aneurysm and you need to go get scanned, or you've done something to your neck." Because all motor skills had gone.
For people to even notice.
To get an MRI, it was about 4 weeks. So I'd then recognised in a time of where life was still very fickle, very up and down, very depressive.
Yeah.
Such relief in these drugs, because not only they didn't really do a lot for the pain, which they don't do, they just make you feel really happy to accept the pain. So I'm there wolfing these tablets down. Put in an MRI scanner for meant to be 30 minutes, was in there for an hour and a half. I'm like, what's going on? Agonising pain, tears, and they rushed us over to Leeds and said that that's where I'd done. And they were like, when did this happen? I said, about 8 or 9 weeks ago. All right, well, it's a good job you haven't played rugby since. And I said, no, I said I played up until 5 weeks ago, and I'd split my head open as well, so I had some real collisions that...
Even after?
Even after.
One of these could have killed you, could it?
That'd have been me quadriplegic from the neck down. So that got me back into rugby, and, but it also, from a depressive state, it opened up a way of managing a depressive state without actually doing anything about it, so masking it, which became the drug. So the marriage broke down shortly after that.
What would you? Are you saying that's because of the drugs that you were on, and or was it because you would?
I just think the relationship was over.
Yeah,
I think we both knew she wanted kids at that time really badly. I didn't. I was like, look, we've gone through this sticky patch. We've been married 6 months, and kids ain't gonna fix us.
Yeah.
As well as, looking back now, sort of in hindsight, that was a point of me going, what's kids look like? I'm still a kid myself. I'm not grown up. What am I? Who am I? So we parted ways, and still working in construction, and got back into rugby. So I was playing first team again, doing really good.
Your injury, you completely healed, did you?
Yeah, well, I've got a little. Oh, sorry, I've got a little donut and a little metal donut, a cage, and a plate in my neck. Wow. Which is nice.
But they said you could go back and play. You
Strangely enough, the guy who did the surgery, he ended up helping me the season after the surgery, coaching the under-16s at my club, because I kind of thought, well, that's me done. I'm never playing again. And he actually came and said, I literally live down the road. Do you mind if I come up? So I met him up there, and he came and did the backs. I did the forwards. We became sort of good friends. I hadn't seen him for years, though. But he just turned around and said, he said that'll be stronger than it was, the factory settings. This is souped up a bit now. You've got some weight. He said, you'll have problems when you're old, but no, he said, as long as the mind's willing. And it was, rugby became, at that point in my life, it became a church, it became a religion, it became my therapist, it became my lover, it became everything.
Yeah.
But alongside that, it also became a problem, because there was a certain culture around at the club at the time where I'd fallen in with this gentleman who lived in Harrogate also, who was a drug dealer.
Yeah.
And one night he put some cocaine in front of me and said, have a go.
Yeah.
At that point, I think I was 24, 25.
Yeah.
I'd never touched any drug apart from these painkillers. And I went, why not?
Yeah.
And that became then, it was a £200 a week habit.
So you didn't go through the sociable side of cocaine and drugs like that. You went straight from never trying it to taking it when you were already in the depths of where you were at. So it was kind of another... numbing agent?
It was numbing, because around that time there was, that sort of, I was playing sort of it wasn't it's not the best level. I think it was like level 7, level 6.
Yeah.
We were playing at Yorkshire Rugby, so it was before it gets into like the National League. So it's it's more the localised Yorkshire region.
Yeah, but you
but still
at the top end.
Still at the top end.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was on a bit of a journey anyway, so I was losing weight again. So I was like back in the gym, training hard. There was these lovely tablets that you could buy called ECAs, which were ephedrine, caffeine, and aspirin, that were fat burners, that were under the counter from your supplement bodybuilder shops.
I see.
I was about 20 odd stone, like taking 4 of them and playing rugby on them.
Right.
I found out then hammering it, like literally how my heart hasn't popped. I do not know. But then found cocaine, which was the same.
Right.
So then it would become, Saturday night was, you play your game of rugby, a load of beer, fire a load of ECAs down before you went to town or wherever we went. Calls will get made, and you'd be out till 6, 7 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And then that started seeping in, sadly, to sometimes at work too.
Yeah.
And, I look back at with such shame in those days where I'd found that, and again with the painkillers, because some of the sites where I was running, I was operating plant machinery, and
so you sort of taking risks that you would never have done previously.
I talk about the cat with nine lives. God knows how many I've had. Some of the stuff that
Yeah.
as I've done, some of the things that I've been close to doing,
Yeah.
I've dodged it, and I suppose it's only kind of coming full circle now to where I'm doing what I'm doing. It's relevant.
Yeah, you get to look back with a fresh perspective. Because
Absolutely.
while you're in it, I suppose, it sounds like you got right to the depths. And I suppose at that point, I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't know, but like you must value your own life and safety differently to someone who doesn't. Do you know what I mean? So
I look on life as very fickle now. So whenever you get like one of those panic attacks or you have a bit of a time where life isn't going so smooth, I'm thinking, God, this is life catching up with me. This is me checking out. You know, it's I've lived my 9 lives. So you're right. It's
you were escaping your normal reality, I suppose, weren't you? So these drugs were an opportunity for you to not deal with what you were actually going through. Was that fair to say?
Yeah, they were like a warm blanket on a cold night. They were very familiar. After I'd had that relationship with the wife that I'd got married to, I then engaged in a relationship with a married woman at the time.
Right.
Which, again, all of my values, everything that I've been brought up to be, honest, true, be a good human being, be a good person, I was being anti. It was kind of like I was sort of in my mid-30s, coming into my mid-20s, early 30s, and I was actually living out the life of a teenager.
Yeah, and before you've recognised those like behaviours are they're not going to get you where you want to be.
No, absolutely not.
You mentioned it earlier. You were saying you were on self-destruct a little bit. It was
big self-destruct. It was like how much can I push this? How much can I keep going with it? How far will it get me? Where's the limit? And it was like I was seeking the limit. So it was danger-seeking behaviour.
Yeah,
but her and I kind of established this relationship that it was toxic from the start. And I was there 7 years with this, obviously all of which weren't married. They'd split up at a certain point. There was adultery from her end. It was a bit of a most would say it as a gaslighting relationship where I was tracked. I was there were things that were said and done which, looking back, I reflect on now and just kind of so I'm a bit more guarded with relationships. But during this time was where these problems started coming back again, where taking drugs. Like I was at the doctor's every month buying tramadol, buying stuff.
Was it easy enough to get hold of it then, was it? Yeah, it was.
It's even more so now. But I had a legitimate reason. I had a broken neck. And they couldn't argue with it, so I'd just go in and fake. I'm working in construction. I can't. I need something, doc. And so, but I think I had like tramadol on repeat prescription.
Yeah, you'd think they must know how addictive these things are, though. You would think that there would be someone somewhere doing the math, saying, "Well, he's had a lot, and he's, that we need to be thinking about weaning him off them." And again, I know very little about the process, but you must have been, even if you were just getting them prescribed, you would have been addicted to them by this point anyway. Would you, presumably?
Well. Chemically,
yeah,
you would. But again, at that time, I was doing everything to not let things show.
Right.
So wearing like different masks, and that was something that throughout childhood, adolescence, something that I became quite good at was wearing a different mask for a different person. So it was lying. It was going to the doctors, going, "Oh, this hurts." Yeah. So they were empathic towards my stuff, and there were a few conversations of, well, maybe we should start doing it. I'm like, well, I probably won't ever function if so it was drug seeking behaviour. Alongside of that was drinking, and still the cocaine on occasion. So the drinking thing that trickled all the way through. That was
because that one's socially acceptable, isn't it? You don't have to hide that one, I suppose, as much as
nobody
the rest.
notices it.
Yeah,
Sam, that's the thing. It's one of those things where at the rugby club, I'd be the last one there. Every Saturday night, I'd be buying people the drinks to stay with me. I was lonely. I was in such a place, but people went along with it. Some of the so-called friends at the time, they they went along with it because I was the one that then bought the drugs or had the money because I was still professionally working. I was still earning money.
Yeah.
It was only once or twice where I was at this point self-employed doing my own stuff.
All right.
Where the relationship was constantly toxic, so breaking up, things were happening on the weekly. It was an argument to have an argument to then make up, and it needed that
pattern.
It needed that velocity. That what do you call it? It needs to be velocity. It needs to be all
the
all
passion
bang.
came from the up and down, and the
all big bangs. All big like a war zone. It was mad. And there was a time where two of the guys that I worked with that I also played rugby with came and found me at the lodge that we were staying at, where I'd been and played rugby on a Saturday, drove back up there on my own because we were at a breaking point. I don't think I'd got any tablets at that time, so I'd gone to the pharmacy at the local place, bought a load of Nitols. Then I went to another pharmacy, bought another load of Nitols and crates of Guinness, and they said they just came and saw me in my blow-up bed in the living room, just couldn't even speak. I was that bad. Man. And at that point as well, I'd gone back. I think I'd gone back to the doctors as well. I'd found a doctor's up where we were working that would give me tramadol as well.
Had you ever talked to any of them about how you were feeling and your mental state, or any of the sort of, because you've been through a hell of a lot?
They could see something wasn't right.
Yeah. And
what Adam used to do was, I'm talking myself as a third person here. What I used to do was I'd disappear. I couldn't do the work. I was so emotionally distressed because of the breakup and the relationship. But I'd disappear. So then I'd come back. I'd try and buy their love and bring them back big sandwiches and stuff. I couldn't be present in life.
Yeah.
So the drugs, the drinking, the that kind of behaviour was mad. And in my mind, the breakup of the relationship, there'd been various others. It was kind of another loss.
Yeah.
So. And looking back now, I think when you have these times of traumatic events where you're going through like breakups, where you're going through difficult times, it happened when I had my daughter with this person as well, where we kind of resort back to that first point of trauma, that negative image that I talk about.
Right, yeah.
Because it was kind of like I felt like a kid. I felt like a child that didn't know how to be, how to deal with, how to manage myself.
I can completely relate to that. I mean, obviously... we've not been through the same stuff, but I know when we really started talking and thinking about kids and trying for kids, that something went pop in me, that kind of realisation that I wasn't living right and that I was living on other people's terms and I was trying to be someone that I wasn't, and actually that identity crisis, if I strip all that away, who even am I anyway? How do I reset, because I don't know what was underneath all of these layers and masks and roles, and
that's the thing in it, when you take them all off, when you're outside of the areas that you wear them, you shut the door behind you. It's like you can imagine Batman taking off his suit, can't you? His cape. It's like, fair enough, he's still Bruce Wayne under it, but it's like, who are we?
Even Bruce Wayne's still complicated, isn't it? That's it. Is it even when you're on your own? How much do we really tell ourselves? How much truth do we tell ourselves? Until we get to those depths and we go, shit, I can't actually cope now.
And I think going back to sort of that time and thinking, well, what was I doing? Well, I was trying to fix something, because, like I say, that had become a thing for me. Like, I'm a fixer, so my mum always used to say, your mum is Little Rock, when my dad was dying and going through that. So I had to be strong. I was
going to say, the pressure that puts on you.
Yeah, it's a belief. It's going to uni and with Gary, we talked about at the beginning, he's a big advocate of transaction analysis, TA, which is about what we learn from our parents and our ego states that we run in.
Yeah.
And for me, I was just running in rebellious child at that point. I was just literally throwing caution to the wind. I wasn't being an adult, but as a kid at that time, I was being a parent. I was in a parental role at 9 years old. I was...
so you missed out on an opportunity to really throw the teddy out, sort of thing. And so you were doing that later on. Sorry to trivialise, but
it's true.
That kind of...
It's true.
You were finally giving yourself chance to, let it all out, sort of thing.
I couldn't be me, because being me, being the 9-year-old, I remember at my dad's funeral and everybody in tears, and apparently I started crying, but it's just sucked it back in. And that was what I did. And that's kind of learned to be. So whenever I got upset, whenever something became too much, it was swallow it in.
What, throughout life?
Throughout life.
Yeah, right.
And leading up to, you know, kind of where I'd hit that guy at school, I went, part of my order was to go for social care work for 6 months. So it was very close to me actually going to prison.
Right.
It was a bit skew with, sadly, it turned out this lad's dad used to hit his mum. He'd seen it. So I don't know where the lad is. And I think he moved back to Spain because they were from Spain.
Yeah.
You know, I'd have loved to have said to him, how sorry I was. Because at the time I was venomous, because it was one of my dad's things was you always look after women. That was one thing that I remember him saying. Yeah. You always stick up for women, you know. Yeah. And I did. Yeah. That belief. And then kind of it went wrong. Yeah. Got put in front of this social worker, though, saying to me then at 15, you can never be angry. You can never be angry, Adam, because look what happens. And that was anger management. Yeah, it was like that was what anger management was to a 15-year-old kid. So you think of like most 15-year-old teenagers, the rebellious, the teeing off, the mad at the world, the mad at everybody. You can't be angry, though.
I mean, that's the opposite of what they say now, isn't it? Well, the kind of, you know, being able to process emotions healthily is so important to get that sort of advice from a professional. Yeah. And that sets you then up for you're just going into adulthood. You've dealt with this huge traumatic thing for you, even you know.
There was lots of them. Like I said, there was the dad. There was the breakup of the family dynamic. That was 2. Then there was leaving everybody. So another grief. Yeah. There was 5, 6, 7 maybe. There was grandparents as well that all died at a very similar time. So literally within my dad being from 7 to 10, we lost 4 really close relatives, 2 of which were blood grandparents. So
Adam, you've been through
but do you know what?
One thing after another.
Yeah. And I suppose up until that point, and then with this relationship and what led to the change, I look back on it now though and see it as kind of, it was my legacy. Right. See it as you know, it's, you've got to have a story to what you do, because having that time. So when sorry to go back to this, but obviously getting with this lady, this sort of, you know, having this affair, being in this toxic relationship, it became that my friends had dispersed. I wasn't really allowed to have a lot of them. I wasn't allowed to socialise. That's when I was being forced to work more, to bring money in. I was working for a company doing building roads and sewers, like a civil engineering company at this time, so back to site management. My own gig had gone missing. We then had a child, like sort of a mistake child at the time, and she decided to get an abortion, but blamed me for it. And there were literally the messages that I still have on my phone to this day, and I don't know why I still keep them, but is to say that it's your fault. This is all your fault. So it was all laid at my door. So at that point there, that's when things started to become very bad, and I started drinking loads more. I was just kind of going wayward. Yeah. It then proceeded that she thought she'd made a mistake, so we then tried to have a kid. We literally, in all of our 7 years, we literally had this window of a year where we lived together, we were together. Yeah. We then decided to have a child. Yeah. And during that time, she then decided to want to build an extension on the back of the house, and who to do it but me. Right. So not only was I doing a full-time job, I was doing an extension, I was doing all this, I was drinking heavily every night just to try and sedate myself, try and numb myself. Yeah. When my child was born, though, that was the catalyst of the big thing coming, the change.
Can I ask, again, there's nothing, that you'd have to answer, but did you recognise throughout this relationship that it was abusive, that you were sort of...
Every one of my friends said to me how bad it was. Tried to come to my rescue, tried to help. Right. But I pushed them away because I was madly in love with this woman. She was the perfect person at the time.
So you put your blinkers on to the stuff that isn't...
It was like a siren. It was like a mermaid calling the captain into the rocks every time. And she's my mum. She's the mum of my daughter. Yeah. And I've got a lot of love for her for that. She's a brilliant mum. Yeah. But us as a relationship, we just didn't work. But I was self-harming. at that point with my life, in the sense of staying there, doing it, not cutting ties. And there were multiple times where I'd been then cheated on and taken back and coerced to sort of still be part of it. And it was just constant trauma after trauma after trauma. We got the extension built. That was, like, say, every day there was a ruckus, there was something going on. We literally had Christmas Day dinner there where we sat, where she's heavily pregnant. The following day we went to hospital. Traumatic birth, like there was a problem with the birth. She'd had some procedure done which prevented her from giving natural birth, so they had to intervene slightly. Right. But she was in labour for sort of nearly 2 full days where she was ready to give birth. Yeah. She had strep B. They didn't properly prepare her for that. My daughter came out with a perfect knot in her umbilical cord and just said that it was a marvel. They then rushed my daughter off to have loads of blood drained to check her blood, because then they had to give her antibiotics, had to cannularize her. Right. And it was just like, I'm watching all this go along, and out of everything, when we'd pack the bags, we'd be meticulous. There was everything there apart from dummies. And there was a pharmacy across the other side of the road. It was a frosty night on December the 28th. And I got to this road edge and seeing all the frost glazed over on the footpaths and the road. And at that point, that's where it started. That's where it was like, shit, what's going on? What's happening? Like, the 9-year-old me came out. I thought, I'm going to die. Something bad's really going to happen here. And kind of like a sheep to a lamb that sort of rejects the baby, kind of like, I don't know if I can do this. What the hell have I done? What am I doing?
Panicked
and just thought, it took me 20 minutes to cross the road. So I was just imagining every single step of, like, maybe a car coming round and skidding and just trying to get across, or me falling and breaking my neck. It was just so real. It felt so mad. Then the following year leading from that, sadly, my partner's mum, she got struck down with cancer sort of in the January and was dead by the March. Very sudden. All of this point now, I was on escape mode. Yeah. She was trying to set me up to sort of bond with my daughter. Like nighttime feeding, I was doing the night feed, but she was dual feeding. She was breast and bottle. Right. So I was like, I couldn't, I was trying to bottle feed her. I was trying to do everything. She just wouldn't settle for me. I couldn't burp her. I was getting shouted at for that as well, but then still having to work. I mean, I went to work halfway through maternity leave. I got offered to go back and have another 3 weeks off, and I took it. And like, I look back on that now and think, shit, what was I doing? But I didn't know any better. I was like, this is what I mean. I was a 9-year-old kid. Yeah. I was escaping something that was so much.
It sounds so stressful, man.
It was, but and this is kind of where it comes to the break. This is where it comes to that point of, leading into the construction stuff. It was from there on in. Every night I was then creating the arguments. I was trying to not be there. We tried going on holiday together. We had a nice time. And then all of a sudden we'd come back and the fighting would be there again. And every time we fought, that was me going grabbing drinks to deal with it. Like literally being in my company car, seeing off like pint tins of Foster's like it was water. She then started leaving my daughter with me on weekends and going away, and turns out she'd found someone else. Right. But she didn't tell me, and that's where for me the mental health stuff started coming in. So at that point I started self-harming really badly, because we talked about the bottling up of crying. That's where the emotion was. It was in my chest, and it felt like if I did cry, if I did acknowledge the emotion, I would die. It was like, you imagine like letting the great big bloody dam in America, imagine breaking it down, it washes away the village. It's just a bath of destruction.
It's like suppressing everything to their full extent.
If I start crying, when's it going to stop?
Wow.
So after finding out, she'd been seeing this other guy, I started like badly self-harming, beating myself up in the face with a hard hat. Broke my nose twice in this, just sort of self-inflicted. Presented at A&E saying I need help first time. Yeah, you need to stop drinking, and you're not, it's the drink that's probably doing it for you and everything. got to work away, so it was the worst thing I could have done. Then, like I say, I was taking drugs, I was smoking cannabis, I was literally anything I could do to not feel, that's what I was doing. And the breaking point came, it was December 3rd, she was going away with her new partner, left me with the baby, me and my mum. I was still working full time though. And again, that was for me, I was like, I can't do this. Daughter's going to be better off without me. Because, look at this, what's this? She's not even a year old and I can't even be there for her. Thinking like, literally that was the point of, I'm out, I'm checking out. So this was after, again, another big bout of self-harming. Took a load of, I was then prescribed benzodiazepine. So like a benzo, what was it? Diazepam.
Yeah.
I took a month.
Strong painkillers.
Yeah, strong painkillers. I took a month's supply of those all in one hit. I drank a load of stuff, took myself down to A&E, and I had a plan there and then in place that I was in shorts and a t-shirt middle of December, and all of a sudden I got out of my car. I'd sent a note to my best mate, an email, wishes, all of that stuff. And I was going to, obviously I would probably won't tell the listeners what I was going to do, but I was sat ready to do this thing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it just started coming down, the most biblical rain you've ever known. It was driving rain, horrendous.
Yeah.
And something just clicked, and that's where I just went, what am I doing? I had something had come, my intent had gone, that was split second of bravery that I was just waiting for.
Yeah.
That would have been the story over. But then walked myself to the hospital. I planned it so much that where I was going to do this was basically outside the hospital.
Nearby.
So they didn't have far to go. Left the car key in the car and went there, and then did a month in a mental health ward up in Middlesbrough.
Right.
And because at that point it was bad. Self-harming became apparent. I was, believe it or not, drinking more in hospital when I was up there because I was voluntary, that I could come and go as I pleased.
You would go out.
There was a pub opposite the way. I was I was on all medication. I was shaking. I was buying 2 pints at a time.
Yeah. So they don't try and stop that. They don't.
No, they were just there to keep me safe.
Yeah.
They came and found me loads. I wish at some points they'd have just banned me from leaving.
Yeah, but you'd self-referred sort of thing.
So I still had rights where I could come and go as I wanted.
Yeah.
And then that was, like I say, and that took me into a manic state. Huge manic state where after I came out of hospital I was like sleeping maybe 2 or 3 hours a night, just bouncing off the walls, having all these ideas, the drug, the drink, everything I could get my hands on I was doing. I racked up, I think it was I was taking payday loans out as well. I was off work getting my full salary because work empathic, and I must have taken about 10 grand out in payday loans.
Man.
And
so you're compounding all the stress that was already there as well.
I'd gone full. My best mate Alex, he calls me all gas no brakes, and that's just part of my nature. I think that's who I am. But it was full gas, like to a point where I was out for 3-4 days at a time. Being woken up in the pub watching the Six Nations at this time. I think it was in February. Being woken up, come on mate, it's time to go home. And I'm like, whoa, who won the rugby? Oh, I don't know. It's been off for about an hour.
Sorry to cut you off there. Did anyone know? Because obviously you told your friend about the, where you were at. So your friend gets that email and knows the depths that you were at. But did you get connection? Did you tell any of your other friends and family? Did you get any support at this point?
I think at that point there were a couple of friends that really supported. Yeah. There was the 2 guys that I said I worked with at that time. They were really worried. They were supportive, but did it the only way that they knew how, which was to take the piss a bit. And one of them actually gave me a bit of a good thing about the podcast, a Joe Rogan one, which sort of helped start the journey a bit better. But the thing was, Sam, I used to love acting.
Yeah.
I'd played all these different roles, these different characters all my life.
Yeah.
So no one would know the truth.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know the truth. The truth was, if I talked about the truth, that would make it all very real, and it would make it very, very morbid and horrible. And, I think the thing is, when you're battling mental health problems and you're going through stuff like this, you get to a point where to talk about it, it does make it real.
Yeah.
But to talk about it as well to people that you love, people that you care about, you don't want them to know.
Yeah.
And that, for me, the path that I've now taken to become a counsellor, to be that independent person, like the sort of the work that I've been doing in the recovery services.
Yeah.
You're a stranger.
Yeah.
Your hurt feelings aren't going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Because sharing how you truly feel, my mum went into full mum mode and was given the whole thing of, they said on a scale of 1 to 10, how anxious are you feeling? How they gave her a few prompts that she was asking every 10 seconds on the way back down from Middlesbrough. It was just literally like, just leave me alone, you're making it worse.
Yeah.
But only out of care.
Yeah, it's love, isn't it? But it's also like complete inability to comprehend that's where your child is at.
It is. So it was mad, and like I say, going on these binges, I bumped back into this original rugby coach again, Bob. He at that point suggested the chimp paradox, because I was just, there was a time when I was in such a horrible state. We used to do like rugby club dinners, and it was the year I'd been asked to go on just a trial with Yorkshire senior side, which is from semi-professional clubs, and we're playing at voluntary level.
Yeah. Because
I'd come on so much. He didn't know anything about the drugs. He didn't know anything about me state of mind, but just saw that I was just a man possessed on the rugby pitch, and I was playing on tramadol. I was floating around like a ghost. I couldn't I couldn't run out of energy. I was just playing 80 minutes every week, battle scarred. I don't know well. If you ask if any of my friends talk about this, they'll say you never played a game of rugby in your life. You never ran around. You just walked around, put your hands on your hips like a teapot. But it was more a fact that he recognised something, and we had this club dinner once, and I was in the toilet sniffing cocaine off a cistern. Came back into the room, and Bob was giving this talk about him phoning me, misdialing me, and all this work. This like, what a man! Like sort of really singing my praises, and my good God, I felt minuscule. And so I told him this when he recognised, and I just said, I'm having this manic thing. He suggested listening to the Chimp Paradox book with Stephen Peters. Yeah. Which was like finding Jesus, because again, I was just manic at the time. I was just all over the shop, like, this is great. My friend, he suggested the David Goggins episode with Joe Rogan, the original one, where he talks about his eating battles.
Yeah, he lost a huge amount of weight himself, didn't he? And he powers through his injuries, and he looks like a man possessed sometimes.
He's a man possessed, and you kind of wonder his own sanity, don't you?
Well, you think that sometimes, I guess, some addictions get replaced by what look like positive addictions, don't they?
This is a thing about addictions, because we know them as being addicted to drugs or alcohol, sex, gambling. We don't think about the
running or validation or
exercise to extremes. We don't talk about any of those because we don't see them as a problem.
No, and I suppose they're probably better. It's probably better to start by replacing the damaging ones with positive ones.
It is
initially.
It is, but then you also got to say, well, what are you escaping?
Yeah, have you really dealt with what's caused it in the first place? Yeah,
because those people that overwork, like I used to do, I used to be 70 hours a week work. You'd work for what? For making someone else rich, not for yourself. So so that came. I went back to work. Because of the DVLA and how that represented, I had to be psychologically analysed by a psychiatrist. Wasn't informed that it was for the DVLA, so I'd confessed to this psychiatrist, being honest as much as I could. I've been off the walls for the past few weeks, but I've been okay this past week or so. I've not drank much, but telling her everything, no holds barred, thinking, finally, someone's going to help.
Yeah.
A month later, I got a letter through saying your license is revoked under medical grounds. You can no longer drive. So at that time, I was working in Malton. That was the train there. And all of a sudden, after the stay in hospital, the relationship breakup, that's when the bits of synchronicity of life started playing out. Yeah. So then going from working over there, banging my head against a brick wall with all these people, teeing off, then to going doing the construction. In Harrogate for a few weeks, to realise that's just not good, to then going down to this place in the Midlands, trying to fix and trying to find something where I belong, didn't happen. And then coming out of hospital, after, I think during the time of me working in Harrogate, having another mental episode where I again presented at A&E, started cutting myself with steak knives and stuff. I was just in it was just a really like self-destruct mode, no respect, no self-respect for me.
Yeah.
After my back going, coming back out to the treatment, which I'd luckily got. At that time, I was working with the substance misuse service in Harrogate as well, which was, where I've been currently working.
Well, you referred yourself to that, did you?
I referred myself because I went
you?
to the GP going, how the hell do I get my licence back? I'm
yeah.
no longer a danger, or I don't feel a danger because I'm back driving. Driving was like my sanctuary. That was your place where you having a rock concert to yourself, singing and...
It's a little bit of a holiday from the world, isn't it?
Your independence. You go into taking yourself out for the day just to live life. It all gone.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry.
That's all right.
And so that that was kind of another knock. It was another thing. How much more could I keep taking? So at that point, I think through August time, up until then, it was like you've got deep anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
Then I spoke to this amazing psychologist who said it's probably like a personality disorder that we've got, but we don't like to label you with them because that doesn't help, does it? And I'm like, I don't know. It helped me identify.
Yeah.
It helped me identify what it was. So went on this DBT therapy, which is dialectical behavioural therapy, which talks about your emotions, how you are, because they were either so bloody high, ecstatic, living life feeling great and amazing, or it was down in the dumps and like everything's the worst it's ever been. It was constantly up and down like that. So it was actually, I had no truth of me and what was going
it's our
through.
Peaks, our troughs.
Yeah. And so after my back had given way for the second time, I basically that's all I was doing. I was literally seeing this psychologist. She was putting me in touch with other people. And for someone who'd never accepted help, never wanted to speak about anything, I was appointment after appointment, day after day.
Started to connect with it.
I started to connect with it. And what had triggered all of this, kind of being pushed sort of towards doing a counselling degree, was the surgeon that did my back surgery. Because I was in his hospital for, I think, 4 weeks in total, the same guy that I saw. And hobbling in after the operation a few weeks later, he's like, how's life? What's going on for you? So just telling him what I was up to. And we had this conversation about what life's going to look like after this back surgery.
Yeah.
So he's saying, well, rugby's done. That's it. Forever. Because one more goes, you'll probably struggle to walk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, great. He's like, well, I said, what can't do? Well, you're not going to be able to lift heavy stuff. You're not going to be able to do stuff. So I'm like thinking... I was just sat there in his office going, shaking my head. He said, what's up? I went, well, that's my life done.
They're the two things that I do. I work and I play rugby.
Play rugby, and that's manual. He went, are you manual work? And I went, yeah, that's construction. I've been doing it since I was 18. Oh, right. I thought you were like a therapist or a counsellor or something. And I went, what? Well, why do you say that? He said, well, every time I was coming in to check on you, you could see that I was tired. You could see that I was wiped out, and you'd insist that you just sit me down in the chair and we'd have a chat. Yeah. And we'd talk for 20 minutes or more some days, You'd have the nurses doing the same as well. So apparently I was on so much drugs you won't believe, but
people were sat.
I was sitting the nurses down and talking to them, and everybody was saying how empathic and kind and caring, and it was him that he said, I thought you were a therapist. And I was like, God, no.
You've missed this big part of you because you've been so busy with all this other stuff.
Precisely.
Wow.
And I think that was the start of it, because then working with these other organisations, like with the recovery support, I floated that idea and said, there's something about you that's you.
Yeah.
It's who you are. It's you. It's something that I'd masked all these years. All of a sudden, I'm welcoming these help off these strangers who didn't know me from, excuse the pun, Adam. I wish I had £1 for every time someone used that with me. Just seeing me for me, with no mask on, no falsard, seeing the traumatized kid, seeing all the difficulties, and just going, do you?
And I guess as well, like, there's no one better with more experience. Somebody with that much experience is always going to be able to support someone from a place of understanding and compassion. It's it's all right sympathising with someone, but to really empathise with someone, you've got to kind of have been there. And
well, you've just, I suppose, empathy versus sympathy is, like you say, sympathy is always trying to paint it. There's a great.
Well, it's like you were saying before with the therapeutic,
Yeah.
like there's a formula, and some of this stuff really works. I really benefited from some CBT. They didn't know anything about me. They didn't care about my story. I didn't learn about theirs. I'm not saying they didn't care, but it was a process.
Yeah.
But it wasn't human, and it doesn't help me figure out why I am the way that I am.
It's behavioural.
Yeah,
That's the clues in the title.
Exactly,
it's just about changing your behaviour.
Yeah.
And but I think with empathy, like sympathies, you could relate sympathy to it in a sense of it's trying to fix the problem, whereas empathy is about going. I don't know your pain, but I'm just so happy that you told me. There's a great lady called Brené Brown. There's the empathy one. It's a 2 or 3 minute one.
Yeah.
Because we were talking, weren't we, about people listening and talking.
Yeah.
That for me, I think it's something that we don't learn. You think back to kids, little boys should be seen, not heard.
Yeah.
The whole fallout from the war, everything, stiff upper lip, us Brits.
It's definitely our era.
It is. Everyone I've spoken to from school, not that I really got on with too many, we all struggle with mental health, like in a bad way.
It was almost, if you were angry or sad or emotional, that was seen as like poor behaviour. That was, I remember it being like, people would be cross if you were sad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that does teach you a little bit to suppress and to maybe show up how you think other people need you to show up rather than what you actually need.
Well, this goes into, like the whole thing about addiction, this whole thing about substance misuse. We learn at a very early age about what we need to forego to be accepted, to be sort of nurtured, to be loved, to be cared for.
Right.
And there's two things. Gabor Mate talks about this loads, and I am a big firm believer in it, because how we've got services set up for addiction stuff, it has its use, it has its purpose, but it's systematically not right, because in addiction, as kids when we're growing up, we've got two things. We've got our attachment, and we've got our authenticity of self. So if our authenticity is angry, if it's mad because as a kid something bad has happened and you're angry and you're horrible, you're like raging like a little toddler, a parent that can't handle that because they've probably had something happen to them is like, you're not going to get loved if you're going to behave like that.
Yeah.
So the kid learns the image at that time, well, I need to remain attached because they're my caregivers.
How do I get this love?
How do I get this love? Well, I've got to conform to what I'm being told rather than to be acknowledged and be true about what we feel and how we are.
Yeah.
So I think we're all, as human race, we all wear these masks. We all put these things on. We forego our authenticity.
And we try and escape our childhood by in some way or another, until I guess we face it. And
think about belonging in life. Think about going back to the construction days. The lad, if you said to every kid at school that sort of worked on the sites with me, what's your dream? What do you want to do with life? What would be your best thing? And those that probably say, I want to be an astronaut. It's like, okay, but you're in the bottom set for maths and everything. So the likelihood of it. But what about building rockets? What about being part of it? That at least sort of is, that's your authenticity. That's you. So at school, I loved drama and singing, and I've been on stage in Harrogate doing amateur dramatics and stuff for years. I loved it to a degree but the only reason why I recognise I love it is because I could avoid being me for a few hours.
An opportunity to put a mask on.
But loved it. But loved singing, loved performing. It's always been a thing. But you kind of get taught, well, you've got to go do your job, so you forego your authenticity to conform to your attachment of you need to earn money, you need to work, you need to live, you need to provide. And so when you think about addiction in the same way, we use it to numb those senses of our authenticity, those senses of ourselves, those missed opportunities in places. We become disconnected. Joanne Harry talk about disconnection is addiction. That is what it is. So through my battles, I was disconnected to life. I had no identity in my sense of self. I had no love. I had no career. No real family as such that all loved me but didn't get me. Couldn't hold a space for me to be vulnerable, to tell them the truth. And it's only when we recognise that and we start then building back those blocks of connection.
Yeah, his TED talk on addiction versus connection was pretty mind-boggling for me.
Yeah.
We're taught to kind of see addiction as like a path to homelessness, you know, or that like if you take drugs, you'll end up there. When we're younger, it's all very caricature, isn't it?
Yeah, drugs are
Whereas
bad.
when you think about like the number of functional alcoholics and functional drug users, you know, addicted but still going through the motions, well, they probably outnumber the ones that have ended up in services, because they're figuring out a way that they can go through the motions but still need to numb themselves from their struggle or their trauma.
Yeah. And that's epigenetically bred in some, you know, like you think about working class areas, think about the miners, you know, think about working all day down the pit. You know, what do? Go to the pub, the navvies, the Irish navvies, graft all day, go drink beer.
Yeah.
And then you learn it epigenetically, so it comes from generation to generation. So, you know, me witnessing my mum drinking in times of stress and trouble, or drinking fun, it's stuff that we witness and we watch.
Normalises it.
Where did she learn it from?
Yeah.
You know, she hadn't picked it up and gone, oh, this works. You know, she's seen it happen.
Yeah.
They've seen it happen, and so on and so on. And as a culture, that in the UK especially is how we see it. Alcohol is the most damaging drug you will ever find.
Yeah.
You know, I could go on for hours just solely about policies of drug use and stuff. How we you know, we see sort of the guys on the streets in York and Harrogate as the down and outs, but they're not. You know, they're disgusting. How dare they? You know, make a mess out. You know, they're just drug seeking behaviour. Those people are traumatized. If I hadn't have been where I was, and as fortunate and, you know, as privileged to have had a job, to have had a bit of, you know, support around me, you know, be it sort of financial, and that, you know, my life parallels people that I work with or have worked with that are on the streets.
So your client, customers,
Some of the guys who were injecting drugs.
A couple of steps in a different direction, or meeting the wrong person, or
Yeah.
And I think that I do think that we try and work on that. On, you know, we talk about homelessness and people do alternate giving campaigns and raise money, and but it tends to be not what they need. You know, giving to the homeless tends to perpetuate homelessness. It tends to perpetuate and fund the behaviour, whereas actually what they need more than that is a connection. They need something to give them back. That's why the Housing First project, where some of these individuals are given a tenancy, they're given a property, and that in large numbers changes their life, because suddenly, rather than expecting someone, well, you've got to go to a drug and alcohol class for 8 weeks or 16 weeks, and you've got to be sober if we're going to give you this bit of accommodation, whereas actually they haven't got anything to connect them to before they've kicked the thing they're addicted to. Whereas if they get the house, the thing to connect them to life, then perhaps there's something that can replace the addiction, I guess.
And that goes through anybody who is addicted to anything. And again, it doesn't, like we talk about addiction like a substance abuse. Like, so there's a big argument that it's the substance that we're addicted to. It's not.
Yeah.
It's like you say, it's a thing that it does to us. So it's not, if it was overworking, it's the sense of pride or whatever we get from it. If it's overworking out, it's, you know, everything that we becomes
it's a dopamine system.
Yeah, it's a dopamine
isn't it,
system.
Usually,
when you think about these people who, so there's ACEs studies. I always forget the guy, Philip, somebody the other who invented it. We're working with obese people in America. When you go and speak to the people on the streets, you're talking 7 to 11 ACEs. With ACEs, acute adverse childhood experiences. When you're talking about those, you're talking about addiction in families, you're talking abuse, you're talking sexual abuse, mental abuse, dystopic families where they're split up, you know, just really bad conditions, poverty, illness. You're talking lots of different things. When you then think about that links in neatly, believe it or not, with ADHD. So think about your naughty kids at school. Think about those kids where they're always playing up, you know,
categorised as poor behaviour,
categorised as bad behaviour, but actually can't be at school or struggling to be at school because there's so much happening in life. you know, and those are the ones, like when you're talking about the homeless guy on the street who's got his hand out, for me it's about sitting with the person.
Yeah.
It's, you know, treating them like human, because that's all we're all the same. The guys are in the pub every night after work drinking 8-10 pints to manage just the monotonousness of life, you know, the unattached authenticity of us.
Yeah.
That's where it kicks in for me, I think.
Yeah. I mean, while we're on the subject of alcohol, I mean, just to touch on it a bit, I mean, I have my own experience with it in that I've tended to use it as a bit of a crutch, and I don't think I noticed it, but I think it's helped me be the person I thought I was supposed to be in social situations. I could use humour more. Yeah. I was more silly, and I think that I've always been a bit like that. You know, when I was in school, kind of, I'd play the clown and be daft and try to make friends with the people that I could identify as bullies in order to divert attention away from me. Do you know what I mean? So I think not to say that I hang around with people that put me in that state, but I think that state has stayed with me. That state of, I need to show up in a way that makes everybody happy with me all the time, and I need validation to prove that. And so when I did start to get anxious in social situations, I would notice that I was like, if I was going to drive somewhere because I didn't want to stay too long, because I gradually exposed myself to the anxiety, and I was like, I'll just stay for a bit, but then I'd have to consider driving, and it would be like, oh, but then I won't be able to have a drink. Yeah. And you know, that kind of like, even though it's not an addiction to the alcohol, there is a connection to it that's like, I kind of need it in some sort, and it's a social lubricant, isn't it? And it when looked at as being a bit of Dutch courage, and there's phrases for it. Oh, have a bit of that, you'll be all right, you know. And it's like the only thing that you're likely to peer pressure people into, isn't it? You're not going to be like, here, come on, have a couple of lines.
What's wrong with
you know? But you
have
might
a jab of heroin.
But but you would definitely be like, come on, mate, are you going to have a couple of pints with us? You know, it's a lot more socially accepted, so we maybe overlook some of the negative discomfort around it.
With alcohol especially, so how it acts in a biological sense, and a lot of people, I didn't know this until becoming, like, say, a group facilitator, learning about what it does. It changes our brain development, it changes how our brains actually work.
At the time,
right. But over a sustained period, it changes us. So if you imagine there's a light switch on the wall, and that's us just doing our normal thing, switching the light on and off. So that could be as breathing, it could be as motor skills, it could be anything like that. That's just us normally. With alcohol, that switch no longer works. It creates its own new switch, which is very, very fragile, very delicate. So if you imagine when you wake up with a sore head on a morning, that's those new switches, those new pathways dying back, and the old ones firing back on again. So that's why we get the fog, why we feel a bit palpy, why we're sweaty, why we go through all of that, is because our bodies have had to adapt, which the brain's a very great thing, to sort of find new ways for us just to live, just to breathe, because of the stuff it does. Because what the effects that alcohol has on us, it's called, like, it's known as, it stimulates our GABA receptors, which are our sedative receptors. So other drugs that do similar are benzodiazepines. So when you go to the doctors, you know, you're going on a flight, you're scared of flying, he'll probably give you a couple of diazepam. They do the same thing. They just make you feel all nice and this is great, nice and happy. But
it's a downer.
It's a downer.
But and it's interesting, that, isn't it? Is that, who was it I was listening to? It was a sports pundit who's written a book on alcohol. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I will put it in the description if I don't remember it. It might come to me. But yeah, he's talked about reducing alcohol, and he mentioned about kind of the first couple of beers that you have. The difference between no pints and 2 pints is the best bit. Yes. That's the bit where you kind of you're happier and you're up a bit, and it's tipsy and it's nice. But then after that, it usually is then just sedating you and kind
That's
of.
That's right. So it's like you say, it's a depressant to the system. So it reduces how we breathe. It's like you say, it acts as a sedative form. The problem is with that, you know, when we talk about anxiety, don't we? We talk about feeling anxious before we drink. it actually makes us more anxious, does alcohol. It increases our heart rates and stuff, so it makes things worse. So you imagine those people who drink because they're anxious in situations. The alcohol doesn't make that anxiousness go away. It just makes you pretend or numbs part of it. It actually makes you more anxious.
I certainly always felt more, if I drank too much, then the next day that the hangover became more of an anxious, like you say, a bit palpy, but also like, what did I say to that person? Because a lot of my social anxiety was around like, well, am I being received well? What am I saying? Have I upset that person? Does that person know that I care about them enough? All this stuff going through my head. Then actually, if you've forgotten half of what happened, then your brain's going, shit, what did I say? Oh God, I remember saying something ridiculous to them. They're going to think I'm an absolute idiot. You know, all that kind of, it's perfectionism. It's like, at its worst.
But then think about the people that do it every day.
Yeah.
You know, how many of your listeners, how many people that are listening to this right now are probably finding themselves in a rut where they're drinking every day to manage just the anxiousness of life, to just exist, to try and bring calm to a storm in their heads or in their lives. And it's probably the worst thing for it, you know. And for me, because of the society, like I say, the societal realms of alcohol, how it's perceived, you know, why we do it, why we drink, we do it as a social thing, don't we, to become more sociable. But what studies are saying now, especially after COVID, I was on Yorkshire Coast Radio a few months back, because people just drink at home now.
Yeah.
You know, you can buy Asda, well, best not say the word, you best bleep that out. Other supermarkets are available. You can buy home brand, you know, spirits for, you know, £6-7, which, you know, that, why would you then go out and spend? And also, you're not then measuring your drink. So if you went out and bought a single vodka, you get in one unit. You going home, you just glug in the glass, and so you're actually consuming quite a lot more. And it's the only drug that we take, as all of them, that we become dependent on, that we can't just go cold turkey on. So if we become dependent on alcohol, so you're drinking for a couple of weeks, sort of 10, roughly. I mean, it depends from person to person, but if you're talking 10 or more units a day for a couple of weeks, you will need medical intervention. Wow. To stop you drinking, because if you just go cold turkey, your likelihood of dying, having seizures, withdrawal symptoms. So like, if you've seen, everybody's probably seen Train Spotting, you know, where he has the lock him in the room and he's seeing the horrible baby on the wall crawling. That won't kill you. It'll be horrible. It'll be absolutely gruesome, you know, to feel the shakes, the shudders, the chills, everything, the pain, the bodily pain, but it won't kill you. No other drug, apart from, believe it or not, benzodiazepines, which are prescribed, again, can kill you. So something that we prescribe to manage our anxieties, and something that we do as a daily sort of in pubs and stuff, are the only two drugs that we can take that can kill us if we become dependent on them.
Wow, I did not know that. I did know that there was withdrawal, and I did know that people could be seriously ill and die from withdrawal from alcohol, but I didn't know it was the only one. I assumed that all drugs have the capacity for withdrawal symptoms.
They do, but not to a point and where they shut you down, because of how the alcohol adjusts your brain chemistry, how it changes how we live.
Yeah.
So like say with cocaine, that's a stimulant. Wow. The risk of you having a heart attack on that, or a bleed on the brain or something like that, is quite severe. Yeah. You're still danger, but the danger of the other drugs, believe it or not, is just because they're illegal. They're not standardised. If we standardise them all, because
you don't know what's in them or how much of them to take, and so overdoses are more likely. And I guess, you know, the impact that they have on your body means you could, if you're mixing them, you could end up having a heart attack or whatever. But the withdrawal from the drug itself wouldn't kill you.
The big thing about this, and something that I became starkly aware of, as human beings, as animals, is something that I delivered training wise. Again, it comes from the Joanne Harry book about mourning mongooses. There was a scientist, I always forget, Philip Siegel, I believe he's called, like Steven Seagal, but the more doctorish one, the more intelligent one. They're not the same, I'm just joking. He studied mongoose. He studied for 25 years animals, and what he said was, this clan of mongooses on a Hawaii island. He put a hallucinogenic plant in their pen to see what they'd do, see if they enjoyed the berries.
Yeah.
They'd go and try the berry, be a bit spaced out, not like it, never touch it. It was only until there was a storm that blew through the island, and we'll call him, we'll keep his privacy safe, but Morris the mongoose noticed Boris the mongoose, who was dead after the storm.
Right.
Morris then decided to go and eat from the bush and gorged his way through the bush to a point where he was absolutely out of it. It was dangerous. So for mongooses, they wander off, they do whatever, they become wary. They work as a pack. So the pack went and brought him back in. Study found the buffalo in Vietnam never used to go into the opium fields ever. They didn't like it. They used to graze outside of them. Yeah. It was only when the bombs started dropping that they went and grazed. As human beings, as animals, as people, we want to change in times of stress, in times of joy, or in times of boredom. What just general facts of life, how we feel. Why do we have coffee on a morning to wake us up?
Yeah.
We all
change mindset change.
Yeah, we all want to change something about how we feel.
Yeah.
I think the problem is, though, when, like say, especially with alcohol, it's readily available, it's dangerous. We don't get told the true dangers because everything's all about the war on drugs. And
that's hugely heavily taxed, isn't it?
It is. It's a commodity.
If you just banned it, look how long it's taken to sort of ban smoking.
Yeah.
But it's happening, and I guess that there's a society looks at smoking differently now to what it did when I was going out and into nightclubs and everyone was smoking everywhere.
You felt left out, didn't you, when they put it outside? If you weren't a smoker, you were like you were in the club on your own.
So I mean, it is possible in a lifetime for these things to change, but it does need enough people to want that, and I guess it needs enough. Enough of a negative impact, but like you say, the negative impact's there, isn't it? The damage to people's health, but also the amount of violence and negative behaviours that people get into. There
was an interesting thing, I can't remember where I heard it, but it said if you put 100 guys in a room and gave 2 lots of 100 guys, one lot had alcohol, the other lot say had cannabis or something like that, or brownies. After 5 hours of non-stop drinking, they'd all be ripping shreds out of each other.
They'd all be snuggling down.
In tears. They'd all be snuggling down,
film.
cuddling, and being all brotherly and happy. And
I mean, talking about these kind of studies, I know that was a thought process, but the mongoose one, like there was one I read about, and I'll probably butcher it, so I'll put a link to it. But it was about rats in a tank, and were given water laced with cocaine, I think, or
Alexander's
maybe even
Rat Park.
And that they would drink this water and get super addicted to it and not want to stop drinking it and wither away and eventually die. And they redid the study, didn't they, later on with a maze and a mate.
Yeah, that's right. So it was Bruce Alexander, who's a Canadian.
Glad you know more about this.
Honestly, I'm. I told you.
Perfect guess when I come out with a half-assed story.
I could talk about this for hours because I think it's relevant because we don't learn it in society.
Yeah.
So Bruce Alexander recognised that, believe it or not, he was given money to produce this experiment on how bad drugs are, how dangerous they are, how addictive they are, and how much they can do damage. So you put a rat in a Skinner box, which for those of the people out there that don't know what Skinner box is, it's just a little cage with nothing in it except 2 water bottles for a rat.
Yeah.
And one water was laced with, I think it was cocaine.
Yeah.
The other one was just normal water.
That's it.
And so the rat would gorge itself almost all the time on the cocaine water and die from it because that's all he was getting. He'd do it to a point where it was beyond, so he'd have a little heart attack. But Bruce Alexander recognised that, is it about the drug or is it about the cage? Is it the environment that the rat's in? So he invented Rat Park, which had loads of cheese, loads of adventure, safe house, other rats to have connections with and bond, lots of sex because that's what rats want to do. Fun, all of that, and none of the rats hardly ever touched the water. Every now and then they did, but they recognised that there was something else. And if you think about us as human beings, and I do this on my group work that I've been doing with people, is what's in your park? What's your core conditions of your life? So there's roughly 10, and it links a bit into Maslow's hierarchy of needs and stuff. But what what I identify, because I got these guys to create their life pizzas, because, you know, me being like the whale, folding the two pieces together, I've got an obsession with pizza. I love it. I'm a ham and pineapple person.
Oh, no.
I know.
Well, it's been nice to see you anyway.
But I always say this to these people, because I reckon there's a PhD in this somewhere. Like, do our personalities link into our pizza choices? So I kind of say, well, ham and pineapple, it doesn't belong. It's a bit quirky. A lot of, you know, it's up for argument.
Yeah.
But ham's quite stable. It's quite a solid foundational thing. You know, it's reliable. So I used to get these people to sort of say, you know, what's on your pizza? Are you a spicy hot, or are you a spicy person? You know, so just get them thinking.
Yeah.
And then get them to colour in like the life pizza, which has, and this is going to challenge me. So if you think about the pieces of the pizza, what we need to be fully full, like a pizza should be, we need work. Yeah. We need fun, and fun without substance, that is.
Yeah,
that's
not for anyone else's purposes,
We need love, we need family, we need money, we need safety, we need, believe it or not, a connection to spirituality or spirit, which I'll explain a bit later on, self-image or self-worth. There are a couple more, but I can't think for the love of me. Friends, you know, there is another one, health. Health, so 10. Wow, did that. I knew what I'm talking about.
I like it.
And you get these people to colour them in. It's like, you know, how, if the slice was full, your work slice was full, how were you enjoying your work? Were you doing what you really thought you were? You know, how full is your family pizza? Do family get you fully? Do they understand you, accept you no matter what your foibles? You don't have to be someone else. Yeah. And you get these people to colour them in, and at that point they would go, my park's empty. Because I'm not having any fun. Yeah. You know, I'm only having with drinking's my fun, or I'm drinking because my work's bad, or my money's bad, or I don't feel safe at home. Yeah. My health's bad, so I'm drinking. Yeah. And for me, something big came out of that, where as much as the park itself and us understanding those parts of connection in life and us trying to keep the pizza slices as full as we possibly can. Yeah. There is only 4 slices of that pizza that we have full autonomy over or full control over. So I think one of the slices that I probably missed as well was contribution.
Yeah, so like volunteering or giving back.
Just doing something that is, because we're not selfless beings. We back in the days before we had houses and stuff, we worked together as tribes. We should be in community. We were community. So if you think about isolation, disconnection from people, that is a lot about our contribution. So we can choose if we contribute or not. That's not inflicted by anything else. Yeah. Our sense of self, our self-esteem, our self-worth, that is something solely for us. Nobody else can impact on that whatsoever. I mean, well, people can, they can bully us, they can have a go at us, but that's just their thoughts, it's not ours.
Yeah, we make a choice to let that in, even if it doesn't feel like it. Yeah.
There's love, which even if you're not with someone, or you could be with someone, but it's your love for yourself. And that, again, your self-image, your self-esteem, that's how you view yourself, but your love for yourself and love for just being you. Yeah. The one that gets me, though, and I'm not a religious person, but I think from my journey, one thing that it's taught me is something steered me. Something there's a greaterness bigger than me sort of saying where or when things happen. And that's because we're meaning makers, I think. But there's spirituality, and people go, oh, I'm not religious, or I don't like church or God, because there's bad affiliations of someone telling us how we should live our lives, and I fully get that and respect that. I respect anybody who has a belief or doesn't have a belief. Yeah. But what I mean by spirituality is exactly like we've been talking today, is who we are. What's the little bit inside of us that makes Sam, makes Adam, that we kind of lose in the mire of existence, of living our lives. Because we don't ever really think about that, do we? We don't think about what's meaningful to us, what's our purpose, what's our goal in life, because we've got all of these things that we have to meet. So, like we said, the work slice of pizza, you could be in the best job ever, but they make you redundant tomorrow. You've got no control over that. You could be the healthiest marathon runner ever, but still have a heart attack. You know, family could be arseholes to you. Yeah. Friends can be. Yeah, I see. Because you've got other dependencies of something giving you something back in those relationships, in those parts. Whereas those 4, for me, they form, and again, bit of a weird thinker, and Gary's to blame for this sort of making you like thinking up theories and coming up with stuff, but they're the nucleus of us. If you put the pieces together and maybe put a circle in the middle, that forms a nucleus. That's our being and belonging. Yeah. So when you've got a scaffolder who didn't want to be a scaffolder, chucking big heavy pipes up, working on sites, getting all dusty and muddy every day of his life because he's got to make ends meet to feed his family. Is there any wonder why he goes and drinks?
Yeah, he's still got aspirations. He's still got other
still
stuff.
Got dreams.
And so, not living in line with your core beliefs and values can lead to that feeling of like discontent, and then that can potentially lead to finding ways to cope with that.
And I think if you walked up to any person and said to them, "What's your core beliefs and values?" Because I don't think we learn it. We don't understand it enough as human beings.
I know we're going to come on to coaching, but that for me is where that's been a huge change in my perception of myself and others. Once you can coach another person, you can't help but coach yourself. It's like a natural process, isn't it?
Of course it is.
And I think it's allowed me to kind of make progress despite the self-limiting beliefs. It's like, well, hang on, you now witness yourself needing validation and not feeling good enough and being self-critical, and you know that that's not based in truth. So what would you do if it wasn't for that? And so like it might, for me, it's things like, put an event on, do this thing, get up and stand up, say yes to that opportunity. Doing those things despite feeling that you might fail. And that's helped me, and that's the reason why I do this. Talking to people like yourself, I feel a little bit like you get to learn what someone else has been through, and it almost always overlaps. Like
we as much as the stories will all be very, very different in the circumstances, we all go through stuff which hurt us. We become hurt in some way, shape, or form, and we then find a way of trying to exist, like say, trying to be attached to some sense of it, but we always forgo our authenticity. So when, like say, going right back to sort of those times of traumatic events where something categorically happens to us as a kid or as we're growing up, that remains there. So I relate it to people, and I say the same. It's like what you've just said there is like the fear. What is the fear? But I'm going to push through anyway. That to me reminds me of Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone. Where he realises he's on his own, he goes down to do some laundry, and there's that big bloody boiler in there down in the basement that growls at him, and it's like, oh shit. But then as the week goes on, he identifies a bit more about himself, doesn't he? He kind of comes to terms with life, and he's like, you know what, I've got a grip of this, I've got a bit of an understanding of it. And he goes down to the boiler and he just tells it to shut up. That for me is the fear will still be there with him. He'll still be scared of it because he doesn't actually know what it is, but I'm not going to be afraid of it. He does, and like you say, and that comes from, I think the first and foremost thing that I would say to anybody who is feeling they've got a problem, feeling they've got an issue with this, is the first part of the journey of it is acknowledgement. Is going, I've got a problem, and that's the best thing that you can ever acknowledge.
It's a hard one as well, isn't it? Because it's as you utter it, it then requires action or change, and that might be growth, but it might be pain as well. And so, like, I think people, me included, I think there's a reluctance to vocalize it early on because it's like, shit, I'm going to have to do something about this, and it might mean saying goodbye to me as I know it, and that's quite a big, people don't want change, do they? They want security and comfort, and
we want what we feel connected to, don't we? Be it the right connection or the wrong one. We want to still belong to somebody, like say that attachment, attachment, connection, whatever you want to call it. And something I always say to people as well is, when you're thinking about it, and there's a little thing that we use as like a tool which kind of helps you identify whether or not it's right or wrong to drink. So like for me, I still drink. I've not touched any drugs for years now, but I still drink. And sometimes it bites me in the arse, I won't lie, because I think the whole part of this is truth. So I've been having a tough month or two going through stuff at the minute.
Right.
And it's crept back in because old habits do creep back in. So for me, it's like the whole... I like an analogy, I like a metaphor. So if you imagine you're I'm assuming a Sonic the Hedgehog guy, or are you more of a Mario kind of guy?
Do you know what? Both at different times in my life, but
so if you imagine Sonic the Hedgehog and he's running through the mazes, isn't he? And he's doing all right. He's got his rings, but then he'll fall on the spikes. And he's got no rings, and then one of them bumblebee things shoots him. And he's dead. He has to go right back to the beginning. For me, I've already got my lollipop that I've been underneath that restarts me where the lollipop is. So I might have to go back a little bit.
I see.
But I'll never truly ever go back to the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, someone else said to me, progress is rarely linear.
It's not, no.
So, like, it's, you know, there's going to be troughs along the way, but as long as the overall trajectory is upwards, then you're still making progress. And, I mean, it sounds like from where you've been to where you are now is a transformation.
It doesn't necessarily even have to be the climb either, does it? It's just the fact that you're embarking on a journey.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes on that path that you walk, the people come and help you. Some people stop you.
Yeah.
You know, the path will be unrepairable. You know, there'll be a bloody earthquake or something, or a sinkhole, and you can't cross it until it's fixed. You know, there's going to be always things that come along in the journey, and for me, I think it's that recognition. It's like when going back to saying, like, one thing that really helped me out when I was drinking or learning to not drink in the wrong way was. It was somebody said it to me, but for some reason it stuck because I'm got a daft mentality. So this person said, have you ever thought about halt or halts when you drink? And I went, what, halt? As soon as I said it, I thought of like this little German man in a little kiosk with a barrier, you know, halt, you shall not pass. It was a really bad German accent. I apologise to any German listeners. Apologies. Halt stands for hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I added the S on from my own experience, which is sad. So, and they're literally a point of like, why am I? So, example, after my back was bad, I'd been in work for years. I wanted to leave my house. I was sadly back with my mum again at 30 odd years old, living in a bedroom, me and her like cat and dog. And so I went to find this property in Harrogate and went to this lovely place, really cheap. But the problem was it was going to have to be council funded because I was on benefits at the time. Yeah. And I went there, met the lady, and she was like, oh, you're lovely, you know, nice person and stuff. Right, so when can we sign you up? I said, well, I'm going to have to go back to the council and do this. And it was ideal. It was a perfect place you've ever seen for Harrogate money as well. It was good. And she went, oh, I see. So you're not working at the minute? And I was, no, I will be soon. Don't worry. I'm just at this moment in time I'm on benefits, but I intend to do this. This is. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Just give me a minute. So she walked out and came back into the room and went, oh, sorry, I've just had a phone call from the office saying this flat's been taken. It's no longer for you. That was just like, oh, right, okay. And it was when I walked up to the pub from there where I was like, I need a beer. Yeah. And I sat and I had the beer in front of me and I went, halt. What's going on? Just stop. Yeah. Stop for a minute. German for stop. Stop. What am I? I was angry. Yeah. I was absolutely angry as shit. How dare this snobby Harrogate woman, you know, tell me you know, that I'm not good enough for this building, this property.
And put a barrier in front of you to your future.
To my connection to one of my bits, a bit of security, my own independence. So instead of having a beer, I rang the agent up and just said how disgusted I was. I got a phone call back from the manager, explained my situation, circumstance. And so long and short of it, I mean, it's not the property that matters. I didn't get the property. No. But for the first time, I'd acknowledged a feeling. Yeah. I'd acknowledged the fact that I was angry. I was also lonely as well because I was sat in a pub on my own drinking, you know. Yeah. So
it's the reason behind the drink is important.
And I think for anybody, so the acknowledgement isn't to go, I need help, put my hand up. That first thing, it could be just as simple as I know I'm drinking.
I don't know why.
And I know why. I'm drinking because I'm not happy in a relationship, or I'm drinking because of this. And
like you said, the first step is the acknowledgement, it's the awareness, it's defining it.
Because the support, and you know, sadly, like I say, I'm just coming out of working in a addiction service, which I've learned so much from. I've loved my time there. It's just become, I've recognised that it doesn't align with who I am. But you know, and the support for people will be that. It might be for AA, it might be for 12 steps, it could be for smart recovery. Yeah. There's the way of getting the help to recover yourself, because it's not about recovering from alcohol or the drug, it's recovering yourself. Yeah. It's recovering the inner you that's needing the drink to be there, to be happy. Yeah. And that's the thing that you recover, but everybody else is focused on recovery from addiction.
Yeah.
No, recovery of self. So that could
Yeah.
be private therapy, it could be coaching, it could be
Yeah.
a multitude of things. The big thing is, like we say, the acknowledgement.
Yeah.
It's going, do you know what? This isn't fun anymore.
That's fascinating, and I wonder at the moment. I mentioned it to you before. People don't seem to talk about it all that much. Like on individual basis, there's lots of blokes within Menfulness that have said, I've got this strange relationship with alcohol, or a difficult relationship, or an uncomfortable. There's different words for it, different language, and I guess different intensities. But it's not something that's collectively discussed in any of the talking groups or on the Menfulness WhatsApp and things, where everything else that we dig deep, as a group, we've learned to be safe with each other and to own our vulnerabilities, and to kind of, that's what we're about. But yet alcohol still remains this weirdly taboo, stigmatized little thing that we can say, I'm having this horrendous time and I'm feeling suicidal and I've lost this part of my life, but we can't say, and I'm using alcohol to help me get through that. And I just wonder why that might be, and what we can do. Like, this halt is amazing, because it's simple, and we're all just going to be thinking about your accent when we when we get a drink now. But is there a way that we can talk about it? I mean, you mentioned the services that you've worked for. Is there a sort of limit to how addicted to it you have to be in order to access these services?
This is the thing with it, because I mean, what there is there's such good resources as well out there online, and there's multiple different apps. If you just put, there's like again, going abstinent, I would never ever recommend that for anybody. Someone who just wakes up and goes, I've had enough, that's it, boom, I'll do it. Because the ones that are lucky probably do all right. But if you've been drinking, as I've said, every day, or binge drinking quite frequently, so if you, like, for example, if you went out Thursday night, had about 40 units, because don't forget our weekly intake, if we're going to talk about alcohol, recommended by government, is 14 units a week, which is, over the week, if you're just drinking pissy lager, it's 7 pints over a week. I know even on some of my days where I do binge, I can be up into the 20s, the 30s easily, no drama. And I would suspect most guys would.
And maybe stronger beer as well.
Stronger beer, and then you think about your shots, about shots if you're being sociable. So if you're doing binging quite a bit, that becomes a thing. So I would always say to anybody thinking about it, seek medical advice first, and that could be a case of, in York you've got Changing Lives. They're a beautiful, brilliant organisation, but there are others out there. Your GP, any health professional will be able to sort of just do some checks, see how you're doing.
We've got a link in with the council's public health. They've got a health trainers, they're called, and if you go to lowermydrinking.com, they've got a website now where, I think it's a national website, but you put your postcode in and then you answer a load of questions, and then it kind of shows you what your consumption's like against the national average.
That's right. So they're known as like SADQ, so severity of alcohol dependency. So, and also there's alcohol audits, which you do, which kind of how you respond to alcohol, so how many units you drink. How you feel, so if you're waking up feeling sweaty on a morning, so it relates it to sort of how much it's affecting your physical health too.
Right,
But with physical health, and like when we talk about the slice of the pizza, that splits into two for me. It's not just your physical health, it's your mental health as well. So I think going back to your original point, why is it a taboo? I think it's because with mental health, it's become more acceptable to seek support for. And I think with alcohol, like you mentioned before, it's a crutch. It's probably it's the one thing that's probably keeping us safe, but equally making us dangerous at the same time. So the self-harming for me, the overdoses, the drug taking, all of which started with a beer. It never, I never went out on a Saturday afternoon after a big hike and went, oh, do you know what? I'd really love a bag of cocaine. That'd be really nice.
So it was
always
step into.
It's a step in, and both work hand in hand beautifully. They're the bestest of friends, because the alcohol reduces your inhibitions, and then it's open season for anything else. And chemically, how they work together, they're very yin and yang.
Right.
So you can drink for hours, on cocaine, and and you get the peaks and troughs of both going along side by side with each other.
Yeah.
So it's like what we call dual diagnosis of drug, not dual diagnosis, sorry, dual dependency. So one works well with the other.
Right. And I'm guessing there's sort of hangovers that are possible after a session like that, when you've enabled yourself to drink more than you ever normally would be capable of.
Precisely.
Just be
for me, it was always the Tuesday or Wednesday after, because that was when I was like, you're thinking, oh, I'm checking out here. This is me done. Your heart's racing like crazy.
Yeah.
You're not slept. But with people who are still on that point of talking about it, because it's such a crutch, to actually say, this is the thing that's helping me.
Yeah.
I've got a problem with it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of for me to say to you, I've said to many people, alcohol is supporting you in some way, shape, or form at the minute. It's giving you something that you're not getting from life. So if you relate it to, there's a theory called the drowning man, which is a transactional analysis theory, where we hold on to these balloons to keep us afloat, our introjections of all the things that we learn are bad about us. So, we're weak, or we're not loved, or whatever. We've got to be a certain thing to be supported so we don't drown.
Yes, a good friend of mine talked to me about this recently. Yeah, I'd not heard about this until recently.
It's great, but what people don't really know is to let go of those big balloons. So think about, as a man, a nice easy one, be strong.
Yeah.
So what that's one great big balloon, is the Be Strong balloon.
Yeah.
We've got to bring in about another 5, 6, 7 other balloons that are more inclined to us. So, well, what is it to be strong? Well, it's to be vulnerable as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's to be open. It's to be, it's to be comforted.
I remember hearing someone talk about addiction. I think it might have been Russell Brand. Talks quite honestly about his
does,
bit, and he said that he'd experienced a lot of people looking down on him and addicts in general, and then when he met the person who changed his life, they'd sort of said, that what a strong thing to do, to become addicted to something, because the reality is the alternative might mean that you didn't stay. That actually this has kept you alive until you were ready to make the change that you needed.
That's exactly right.
And it's like, why demonize people for finding something to connect them to life? Do you know what I mean?
It's helping them in a time where they're struggling, because we don't necessarily have the other supports to give us that. So if you think about that balloon and it's alcohol, we're not just going to let it go. It's kind of like someone breaking the leg. You don't just say, take your crutches away from you. You might say, well, we'll give you one crutch to work with, or we'll do it. So it's something that has to be planned. But the big thing about this, it always has to be intrinsically motivated.
Yes.
It has to come from within, because yes, I've got a problem, I'm not doing this. Well, why am I doing it? Why am I going to change? Why am I going to take this crutch away? Why do I need to do something about it? Well, if it's for your wife, or it's for your kids, or it's for your job, if it's for anything outside of you, it'll never work. And the hundreds of people I've seen come in service that are doing it, I'm doing it because of the wife, because she's going to leave me. I always say, that's not the right reason.
And it's going to be... It probably won't last, will it?
No.
Because it's not yours. I mean, this is two things that I learned when very, very first day of coaching training was that a thought is not fully formed until it's articulated. That you saying it out loud means that you define it, and it can't define you. But then also, if you can get someone to articulate their solution or their pathway, then they own it then, and it's not you, it's not, and like anybody else's. And like you say, that there's more, it's a verbal contract with yourself then, isn't it? Rather than sort of somebody else's solution for you.
I'm doing this to make you happy. Well, I'm not actually doing it for myself.
Or to save a relationship, or like you say, because there's a fear of the legal ramifications. That's another, I guess, difficulty around criminalising addicts, is that it doesn't seem to be working all that well, does it?
It doesn't, because like I said, people want to change how they feel. People will always want that. And if you're really geeky about it, and you go back and look at why we did what we did, because up until I think it was 1914, you could buy cocaine and heroin in your drugstore. It was the big thing about ostracising drugs was a fear of race.
Wow.
It'll be demonstrated or shown quite vividly. I think there's a Billie Holiday documentary or film coming out, because
Right.
Billie Holiday and Judy Garland, who were, both stars in their own rights, one from a black community of uprising, of jazz uprising, the other a white actor, both had heroin addiction. One was persecuted and sent basically to a deathbed. The other one was just told to go on holidays more.
Yeah.
Because of the fear of the uprising of it. Now,
Right.
I'm not, by any stretch of imagination, drug use is bad.
Yeah.
It is dangerous. It's very, very bad. But how we treat it in society,
It's changed over time. It's changeable.
It's changeable, and it needs to be changeable. Look at countries like Portugal. Look at countries like Vancouver.
Decriminalising and seeing massive
massive difference, because people will always want to change how they feel. How they do that will be through all sorts of ways. Like the smoking thing.
Yeah.
We banned cigarettes, we made them unaffordable.
Yeah.
You don't see it too much, but you're now seeing people vape.
Yeah.
You're now seeing other things will come and go.
Loopholes and ways around it. Yeah.
And I think with, like, say, taking the crutch, taking that away from the person, that for me is that whole sense of at that moment, their identity of something that's helping them.
Yeah.
And for us to just go, well, sorry,
get rid of it or else. Yeah. Can I ask what it was then that you decided? You've managed to keep alcohol as part of your life despite your past experience of it. What was your mindset when you made that call, and how has it been keeping? What motivates you now to not drink that next one? Because just from a personal experience, if I have one or two, I can have 3 or 4, and that'll be it. But if I have 4 or 5, I'll have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's a point, and that I guess everyone must have, where decision making gets worse, and therefore more alcohol goes in. Like, how do you have a strict limit, or do you
So the rules, and I'll be honest with you, and like I said, I believe in honesty is the key.
Yeah.
There's been times where these rules have been broken quite badly by myself.
Yeah.
But it's that whole thing. Have you ever heard of I think I always get this wrong. Kinsaki. You might need to look it up, because I don't want to tell your readers, your listeners, wrong. But it's the art of healing with more value than the pottery.
This is the cracked pottery.
Cracked pottery. I think I'm pretty sure it's called Kinsaki, because I
have heard this because I bought my girlfriend a kit literally the other day.
There we go.
Should have heard of it.
And that for me is kind of that with regards to finding yourself doing it. You break your favourite mug. It might be a 99p special from a certain supermarket.
Yeah.
But the value of what that means to you is important. So the way that you fix it, the way you heal the mug, is by using gilded gold glue, which is probably, to buy the glue kit, I think it's about 15-20 quid, because it's got gold mixed into it.
Yeah.
But you fix it, you bring back the parts of it. It'll never ever be truly the same thing. And that's for me is kind of like, for me, the healing is there. So sometimes I have to be broken to realise a new bit of healing, which is for me to go, my rules were never drink at a funeral, because it was always drinking to be sad. Never drink when I'm sad or upset. Never drink on my own. Drink, if I'm going to drink, it's to celebrate. And the problem is with me, probably addictive personality, a bit of a form of BPD. It's always something.
Yeah.
There's always something floating about, so it'll be food. So I'll go through stages of where I'll be addicted to eating junk food, and I'll gorge myself on it still, or I'll be addicted to going to the gym, or I'll be addicted to helping somebody else.
Yeah. These were the peaks and troughs.
These are the peaks and troughs things. But where it comes to drinking, the thing that helps me most is giving myself permission sometimes.
Yeah. Because
I think, how often do we actually go, do I have permission to do this? Not the wife or not anyone else. It's like, do I have permission? So the one that I won't break ever is if I'm sad.
Yeah.
So, the Holt thing, that's very prevalent. So if I'm angry, lonely, tired,
Yeah.
I forgot what they are. Yeah. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired, sad.
Yeah.
I've drunk when I've been hungry.
Yeah.
That's physical hunger, because I will just go, because whenever you're hungry, you don't eat or you don't drink water, you always crave beer for some reason. I don't know why. But sad, tired, and angry, definitely not. I have drunk when I've been lonely.
Yeah.
But I think, like you just said, I kind of recognise it. I have to do it to recognise it when I'm sat on a pub on my own after 2 pints. Like when I did my dissertation last year, I made it a celebration because every year whilst I'm typing away 1,000 words, reading, Gary coming and ruffling me on the air, not that he ever did, but going, come on, you're doing great. The celebration would be 2 beers in the train station on my way home. So it was a reward. So I gave myself permission. But then,
you were able to keep it to that, like, a limit. I think the thing for me is, I have a completely different relationship with it. But I'll do dry January because I'll feel like I've had too much at Christmas. And for me, having a month off feels easier. Because I just don't buy it. I just don't have it in. I don't look at it. I don't have one and then want to.
I genuinely can't think of a worse month to do dry January.
Yeah, people have said this before.
Simply because it is the most depressing bloody month there is.
Yeah, I think it's following that overindulgence. But yeah, I mean, you're right. It is dark and boring and lonely month, isn't it?
It's kind of, for me, and anybody who does that. I mean, I've had months of abstinence myself where I've chosen to go, I'm having some time off with this. I'm literally having, I think the best I ever did, I think, was 3.5 months that I did without alcohol.
Right. So it started off as a month, did it? You just carried on?
Yeah, because I just gave myself permission to keep going. Like, the alcohol-free beers. The thing is, I like the taste of beer. I love a certain stout that you can buy everywhere. And
they've not quite nailed it with the alcohol-free yet, have they? It's good.
Very
it's
close,
better, isn't it?
They're very close.
If you like hoppy stuff, then it seems to be able to take the edge off.
It's quite all right, but for me, I just like the taste of it. So for me, it was finding something that was a replacement. So again, it could be something like that because there is a draw to the taste. They always used to say with smoking, it was an addiction to
the habit.
The drug. Right. It was an addiction to the tobacco, to nicotine. Yeah. And it wasn't. It was the doing of it. It was actually the ritual. So you think you come home on a night, or you're in a stressed time, or you light your fag up, you go out for a fag to de-stress.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that with alcohol, don't they? Come in from work, crack a beer. Oh,
it's habitual.
It's a behavior. It's a habitual thing that we do with our hands sometimes, or a taste, and we get a relationship to it. But it's something that I've invested in myself, and whether or not it'll change, the good thing is I've got flexibility in me.
Yeah.
There's a thing again, Gab Almighty talks about calling response ability, being able to respond to something. So whereas before I didn't have response ability, I was just, fuck it, I'll have 10 pints. I don't care. I'm lonely, sad, whatever. I'm hungry.
But now
now it's a case of, like, after and it's tasting good, and I'm thinking, well, I'm sat in a pub on my own. Is there anybody else around? Is there any fun? Oh, I've had a little slip there. That's okay though, because
I'm all right, and I know I've caught it, and I'm aware of it, and now I make a good choice, sort of thing.
But that's a commitment that I've made, and for Joe Blogs, 10 doors down, the relationship is totally has to go, because it's either one. It's not one or two. It's all on. It's all gas, no brakes. And I think what a lot of people think about this, so we talk about being an alcoholic, we talk about being in recovery. What we need to bear in mind is the reason why we do something like that is because of a wound that we have, something that's unresolved inside. So do you
think that's the case in every situation?
I truly believe, because if you had a fully functioning life where you were truly happy, and you were truly okay with life, and you were noticing you were drinking a few more whiskies or wines a night, you'd probably have the ability to look at it yourself and go, oh, what's happening there? You'd have curiosity, and this is another thing as well. It's to sort of be able to be curious about the why. It's a big thing, because a lot of people will have had something, or they'll be suppressing something while they're misusing a drink or a drug. And for me, it's also having that curious compassion, or compassionate curiosity, because it's not about going back in time. None of us have a DeLorean and a box of plutonium.
No,
we won't be able to go back and fix, but we can heal, and we can cure. To cure it is the thing. It doesn't need to say that it'll never ever come back, but to cure it, to sort of send it into remission, is to have that curiosity about why. Where's it come from? Did Dad drink? Was it traumatic? Was the stuff that I witnessed? Am I not happy in life? Why aren't I happy in life? And those are all the points for me about recovering the individual, and about understanding yourself, your own journey. What's brought you there? What's got you there?
Thank you so much for sharing your journey with me today. Like, I know that we're essentially strangers. I've only heard your name with like less than 2 weeks ago, and here you are in me garage having a proper natter
in the mansion. It's great.
I wonder if it's not too of an overreach. Like, whether you feel that you are cured, or whether you feel you are where you want to be right now, and if not, are you on the right path?
I think the whole thing about, to sort of round up the story, when all this help came to me and deciding to go on do this counselling course, this degree that came just literally out a blink of a flash, I'm so glad for all the shit that's happened to me, because where I'm at now, it will never ever be, a polished, finished article, because nothing ever is. There is no fully actualized person out there that lives the perfect life without any problems and things, because to live the perfect life would be like just a flat line on a heartbeat. It means that we're dead. We're not living. We're not truly existing. So the ups and the downs have to come. We have to go through them. I think for me, the knowledge of, where I've come from, my story, putting it into a bit of theory with going into uni, and then now helping people with it to sort of identify their superpowers, their strengths, and to utilise that, for me, is the healing.
That's part of your journey, is helping other people on theirs.
And it's not doing it altruistically, to do it at my own detriment. And I think that's sort of why, you can sort of see in services and things where people do help people with addiction, you see burnout. I've felt it myself, because you become so invested, and you kind of then got to think, well, who am I helping? Who am I fixing? Am I fixing this person? Why am I needing to fix this person? And
I'm guessing you're restricted in how you can help that person.
And that's just because of the status quo of what services look like, And for me, healed. Good question. I would definitely say on the way to being cured.
Yeah.
Healed. It's scar's still soft.
Yeah.
But it's flexible.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. It's a rigid scar is something that as soon as it gets a bit of stress or pressure, it pops again.
Yeah.
Whereas I would say that mine, I've been rubbing it with bio oil, like my stretch marks, It's to a point where it's got flexibility, but it's still very soft.
Yeah.
Still very soft. So, and I think, you know what, Sam, I think going through life, not only do we reopen old scars, we create new ones.
Yeah.
But that's part of the journey.
Yeah.
We're not... Think about when you were kids, when you were coming with scrapes on your knees and, I've cut myself up, and like your mum fainting, going, let's take you to hospital. That was adventure. That was living. That was having fun. And I think as we get old, we get into a life of work and family, and not that all of that isn't important, because it is, but it's just also remembering who we are.
Yeah, I think having kids, watching the way that my daughter looks at the world reminds me of like, oh yeah, that used to be exciting, and it brings a new perception of the world, which I feel like I've missed. You get on the hamster wheel a bit, don't you? And you forget to slow down and check out how awesome this place really is.
And that breeds back into, like I say, the connection of fun, enjoyment, like understanding who we are, because there might be an Airfix modeler in someone in there that they've just not had a chance to do one for years, but it was the best thing ever that they used to do as kids, and just because we
reconnecting with that.
Reconnect just with something that's me. Like that was what a lot of people find is like the drink, or they use something because they're not having fun.
Yeah.
They're not doing something for them. They're not being at peace with themselves. So
thank you, mate. And maybe a little bit then on where you're at now professionally, because I know you've made some changes lately, and you're turning this experience that you've had into a career. I mentioned Ikigai to you earlier on. I've talked about it a few times on the podcast. I won't bore the listeners again, but it sounds like there's a real sort of vocation here, that you're turning your struggle, your challenge, into a purpose some way.
And I mean, for me, it's at the very early stage of concept, obviously coming out of the university, With
You did 3 years there, did you?
3
A
years,
full
so
degree?
doing a full undergrad. And if you'd have met me at school, you'd have said, you ain't ever going to university, you haven't got the capacity for it, because I
Wow.
hated academic work. Now I've got an aspiration of it. I soak it up like a sponge.
Yeah.
There's always an audio book on of something deep. It's not a
Yeah.
Agatha Christie, if I can say it right, or Daniel Steele, one of them steamy novels. I did have 50 Shades of Grey on once, but it's a long time ago. So for me, it's kind of like, well, being able to utilise what I've been through, being able to sort of help others is something that I feel right by. And so what I'm trying to do is develop my own coaching, wellbeing coaching, which is a bit different because I think people have a misconception about what help is, especially with professionals. I've gone to uni, but I'm still a human being. I'm very down to earth. My sense of comedy, trying to have a laugh about things, daftness, that's me. And that's how I kind of work with people. It's real.
I think you need that because I think I remember first ringing the self-referral for IAPT, to refer myself for some CBT. I remember the not knowing how it was going to be, walking into what was essentially a classroom for CBT. That was how I did it in a group. There was no waiting list for that. But even I think if I had an appointment or there was, I'd walked into a building where people were being helped and spoke to someone with a clipboard. You get that feeling of like there's a them and us. There's the person who's the professional.
There's a hierarchy.
Yeah.
There's a hierarchy of you know more than me,
Yeah.
and there's a fear of us all going, I'm not going to do that because it's like, what's this person going to think of me?
Yeah, and I think that's a misconception because they're all humans. Everybody, all of them have their own experiences and life stories. But like in America, the idea that people will just have a therapist throughout their life, that's normalized, isn't it? Whereas over here, there's that sort of disconnect that you go when you're really ill or you're really struggling and you get a certain amount of help off a professional and then you're better again and then you move on. Like that's not really how it should be, is it?
No, it's not. And I think because we've, like I said, because we're starting to talk about mental health now. Like we said, I'm a big believer in the talking part's easy. It's the listening that matters.
Yeah.
And I think that, we forget that we need to be sort of heard in the right way, but also for someone to sit with us in the right way and go, not to provide advice, but just to provide the space to sort of say, this sounds really bad, just to be empathic. I'm just glad you've told me. I'm happy that you've, how are you feeling? Lots of questions. And for me, that's what kind of coaching seeps into. It's not to therapize you, not to look at you and dig into the depths of you. It's to more work with the superpowers, the strengths that you have on the daily that you don't even identify as stuff that can help you with a situation.
Yeah.
And for me, working alongside people with either addictional problems, mental health problems, people see coaching as very corporate as well, which I don't like. So you got your Tony Robbins guys who are like, do it with big white beautiful teeth and a tan. He's like, do it now, get it all sorted.
I think he's amazing, fascinating character.
He's a great character.
But it does sometimes perpetuate that feeling of like hustle culture. Yeah. You must grow. It doesn't leave a lot of room for accepting how things are and accepting yourself for all your flaws. And I think that's the journey I'm on with it at the moment, is that for me it's always been that, like, what's 1%, and the world, you might not think you can do it, but you can, and let's go, and that's worked to a point, but I think we could all do with finding a way to, like, step off the hamster wheel and slow down a little bit and go, what do I actually need from life?
Precisely. And actually recognise if you're a hamster or not as well.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing, because it's one thing that we do forget. And I think with coaching that, it's sort of, especially how I work with people, it's not in a room. We'll go for a walk, we'll go for a coffee, because anything that we can discuss there, it's in the open. And I think a lot of people struggle with, especially, is going places. One thing that I found working at the recovery service was I had better reactions with people working in the open,
right?
As long as they were happy with it and felt safe enough to do it. I had so much more, like, growth with these people. They found themselves a lot easier, because to walk into a certain building where you know what you're going in there for, to be seen in a small town like Harrogate, people come out going, oh God, what am I going to see? Wearing your glasses, you can imagine like spy thing. So, and just being more human about it, because you're right, it is a stigma. Addiction, mental health, it's becoming lesser of one. But ideally, what would we want from a conversation with someone talking about some of our worst parts of us or things that we're feeling? We just want to feel heard, want to feel connected, and we just want to feel acknowledged that you're not just suffering it on your own. Other people have been through it. They've come out the other side, and like I said, my story, there's millions of others. But I think anything that you can do to help other people see that the strength, the beauty, they're in a greatness that they have, it's just the way to be. And it can open things up for potential therapy.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, and it's the first step, isn't it? Well, I think that you'll be amazing at it. I can tell after just speaking to you for a couple of hours that you've got a passion, and you speak so honestly and openly and vulnerably, and you've shared your story so articulately. I've said this to Aidan when he was on the podcast. There's something about someone who's been to a certain depth in their own psyche that they just emanate that kind of honest, compassionate sort of warmth. You get it. You're giving it off in droves, mate. I felt very, very, very comfortable talking to you, and I'm really, really grateful that you've shared your story with me.
Listen, I'm very grateful for you having me in your home. Just being in the space that you've got here, and what you guys are doing with Menfulness. I think when Gary introduced me to it last week, I was like, wow. It's been a big thing of mine to sort of reduce stigma in mental health, because when you think about it, you're either so poorly that you need doctors, CMHT help, or you don't talk about it. There's no gap in between. There's no service that really is for those that suffer silently out in the open. So I think what you guys are doing is brilliant, and keep it up. And it's been a privilege to share my story, ramble on for a couple of hours.
No, well, it's not been rambling. Like I said, I'm thinking I'm going to struggle to cut any out of this, so it might have to stay 2.5 hours.
Sorry, everybody.
No, that's all right, mate. No, listen, there's no rules for how long these need to be. I think that people will get a lot from this on multiple levels.
Great.
And I hope maybe you'll come back. At some point we can talk more once you've got your practice ongoing, and find out how you've been growing yourself, because these things are mutual, aren't they? The more clients you have, the more you realise stuff about your own practice and yourself, and it's a very full circle process, isn't it?
A humble builder, that's come full circle in the sense of a few, 5 years to sort of be doing something totally different. I think there's a lot more growth and watch this space. But
how exciting! So it's Adam Pike.
I think from what I've set up, I think it's Adam Pike Wellbeing Coaching.
I'll put some links
at gmail.com. Yeah, and I'm on Instagram as well. But I will start filling it in. But if there is any inquiries, if people just want to chat, feel free to contact me through those. That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll come to us and we'll link you up.
Brilliant.
So a little quick chat about you've shared some content. We already mentioned the chimp paradox with Stephen Peters. We mentioned Lost Connections with Johan Hari. There was also Chasing the Scream with Johan Hari as well.
Chasing the Scream's the one about the war on drugs, or the not so war on drugs. The Lost Connections, that's again talks about depression, talks about anxiety, and sort of our missing connection. So Johan Hari is very much about connection, which is right in lots of it. He's coined the term connection, I think, with a lot.
He's great speaker as well. He's
superb guy. Yeah, so again, worth any TED Talks on addiction or anything like that, go watch him or Gabor Mate as well.
Yeah, I watched a film that he'd put out called The Wisdom of Trauma.
So the Wisdom of Trauma is from the book The Myth of Normal. So it's the most recent thing. So I think I've shared The Myth of Normal. That talks a lot about our illness, our unresolved trauma, and how it plays out. So I've worked with people who like fibromyalgia, sort of, they say a lot of it with MND, or I think what do the Americans call it? ALS.
ALS, yeah.
So it's a similar thing, kind of, that there's such a link of held in trauma that people suffer with that become severely ill.
Right.
It does seem a bit self-helpy at the end, but if you're a reflective person that feels strong enough to do it, I'd recommend it, just even to listen to it, because
this is The Myth of Normal, is it?
The Myth of Normal.
Right, I will definitely get onto that. Does he do his readings himself?
His son does.
His son, who's great voice. He's
got a great voice, but his son does it. I've forgotten his son's name, but he basically, again, they all suffer. Like Gabor's an ex-child of the war, and all the stuff, his mum leaving him and stuff. So
his story's incredible. The fact he can dig deep with all of the traumas that he's got, it gives you hope, doesn't it?
But this is the thing, like when he talks about, I can preach it, I can't do it. It's like sometimes when we're in these situations where we're helping people, and you're just there going, I'm a bloody hypocrite, because you can help people, but that's not you. The true you is the one that helps. The true you is that person. And I think, like you said, to be affected by something, to be traumatized, or to be, in a place where it's having detrimental effects, and for you to resolve those and understand them gives you great wealth of knowledge that you should be shared with others. So I think with people like him, he's a bloody expert at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fascinating guy. So thank you for sharing those. I'll put some links up in the description.
You're welcome.
So finally, we like to finish on a couple of songs.
So
we've got two. I know it's hard. It's always hard to pick. So I asked someone to pick two songs, but you did a great job here, because both of these are incredible. So first of all, we've got a happy song, Toto Africa.
Yeah,
big tune.
Africa, big tune.
Everyone will know it.
I first came to hear that song shortly after my dad died, believe it or not. I never heard it before ever. And it's one of those that stuck with me ever since. So, when people say Desert Island Discs, and I fluctuate with good songs, because I'm a big Meatloaf fan, lover of the 70s, 80s, your power ballad stuff. I'll be having a concert on my way back to Harrogate. So if anybody's wondering who the mad guy is in the white Ford car, like thrashing about doing it, that's me having my concert. I love that song because, being a bit of this philosophical person that I am now, there's meaning in that song, so I think because that's the only way you'll know it. There's the bit, another bit in one of the verses. I seek to cure what's deep inside, frightened of this thing that I become. And for me, that's just like, wow, powerful. I mean, by all accounts, they just wrote the song, like thought it'd be cool to write a song about Africa and made all this shit up, but there was no deepness to, or no depth to it. I think so.
It feels deep.
I think so.
No way, I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah, I seek to cure what's deep inside, frightened of this thing that I'll become. Because, again, I think as human beings, we're all frightened. We're all frightened of this brilliance that we can become. So, and I just love the harmonies. Me and my friend James, we had a bit of a band called James and the Giant Pike. We only did a few gigs. He plays, I sing badly sometimes because I can't harmonise, and I used to sing that in our bedrooms as kids, and we'd record it. And oh my God, I murdered it a few times. But
well, it's a big tune to try and sing.
Huge
it doesn't
tune.
Get much bigger, really, does it?
No.
And like I say, it's one of those songs that I think probably splits. It's probably quite divisive because it is so big and so overplayed. But like you say, there's a nuance, there's a connotation to the whole feel of it that feels deep. If I Google this and it's been written on the back of a fag packet in 10 minutes, I'll be gutted.
See, but I'm a bit of a fantasizer about songs, because I think music sings so deeply to me that there's one I'm listening to at the minute. I've got a really bad, terrible tattoo. Never get a tattoo, kids, when you're mentally unwell. When you're manic, because if I showed you it, you'd have a chuckle, but. And I've been thinking about what I could do to fill the gap, and I'm listening to this one at the minute called from Stills Crosby Nash, called Southern Cross.
Right.
And there's words in that goes, I think about how many times I have fallen, spirits are using me, larger voices calling. What heaven brought you and me cannot be forgotten.
Why twice you ran away? Think about how many times I had fallen. Spirits are using me, larger voices calling. What heaven brought you and me cannot be forgotten. I have been around the world,
so I've gone away with that and, like, again, thought spirit, heaven, looked at what is heaven. Well, it's peace, it's bliss, it's, you know, it's what we are. It's like, what is heaven? You know, we talk about it as, oh, you're good, you go to heaven. No. Think about it, about what is your heaven? You know, what are your spirits? What spirits are you using your larger voices calling? What are they? Where are they leading you to? So for me, on this little trippy bit of, you know, like, what is life? What's this magical stuff being steered in these ways? It's I think that's a beautiful lyric. So it was very close between those two, but Africa
listen,
won.
You can have two, mate.
Thank you.
As soon as you've given me 2.5 hours of your time, I'm going to let you.
Thanks, 2 songs.
And then finally, Dan Fogelberg, leader of the band.
Leader
Tell
of the
me
band.
about that one.
Again, that was going to be close between that one and Old Lang Syne. Old Lang Syne was written about him being famous and coming back to his town and meeting a high school sweetheart, and I would recommend anybody listen to that. If you've ever been a heartbroken kid at 16, 17 and you've ever bumped back into your love again, listen to that song, because that's a trigger warning. But I kind of thought, well, a sad song, that's always been about people, whereas I think that the leader of the band, the emphasis on that is his dad was very musical, Dan Fogelberg's, and he never got to actualise his truth. He never got the opportunity to do what Dan did. So there's a bit in it. I've tried to imitate a poor imitation of the man. I'm just a living legacy of the leader of the band.
An only child, alone and wild, a cabinet maker's son. His hands were meant for different work, and his heart was known to none. He left his home and went his lone and solitary way, and he gave to me a gift I know I never can repay. A quiet man of music, denied a simpler fate. He tried to be a soldier once, but his music wouldn't wait. He earned his love through discipline, a thundering velvet hand. His gentle means of sculpting souls took me years to understand. The leader of the band is tired and his eyes are growing old, but his blood runs through my instrument and his song is in my soul. My life has been a poor attempt to imitate the man. I'm just a living legacy to the leader of the band.
And it's got thoughts for me, because I didn't really get to know my dad a lot, but from what I've heard of family and people, he was a blast. And he was a loving, kind soul. He would talk to anybody. He used to drive buses after he had the butcher's shop, and I'd be sat behind in school holidays behind the seat of this old bloody knackered 1960s bus, him chugging around Nottingham, and everybody got on the bus. Hello, my duck, you know, proper Nottingham accent. All right, my duck, how's it going? We've got all shop in there. Little old woman trying to get 20p out of her purse. Oh, you all right, my duck? You just pay when you come off. Yeah. Just a real sweet human being. And the reason why I think about that song a lot, because there's a lot of regret for me still, even to this day, about him dying, because I never actually went to see him before he died, but he knew that I couldn't go because he knew it was too much. Yeah. And there's a bit about, thank you for the kindness and the times when you were tough. Popper, I don't think I've said I love you near enough. You know, and it, for me, it's one of those ones where I could cry and I could well up now. Yeah. But it's beautiful. Yeah. Because it's sad, but it's also quite nostalgic in the fact of, you know what, Roy, I hope I'm doing you proud, mate. And I hope that you look down wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Even if you just, you know, where you at is in the little bit of land that we put you in. Just hope you're proud. And I think that's all you can wish.
Yeah, man. That's beautiful.
So, good tune, but sad, but yeah, it's just got a good song to it as well. Love it.
Thank you so much, mate.
Hey, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. I hope we talk again.
I do too, mate. I really do.
So grateful to you for sharing your story, for talking to me about all this.
Mate, you're welcome, because sharing is caring.
Yeah.
So people need to hear it, and hopefully, even if it inspires one person to reach out, get some help, then it's done its job, hasn't it?
Thank you, man. I hope maybe we could see you along at an event or.
Don't expect me to play football though, because as a Tubby Thomas that I used to be as a kid, I was throwing in goal. So goalkeeper, I'm all right. But
there's something for everyone, mate. But just I feel that there's more to come.
I hope so too. I really do.
But until then, mate, I'll see you soon.
Lovely. Cheers, Sam. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us. A huge thank you to Adam for telling his story so honestly. Did you maybe consider your relationship with alcohol? Did you enjoy this chat? Please let us know. Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe, share. But whatever you do, keep talking.